He threw that patch on, make it look like he was in a club, but he was never in a club.
They want to be able to tack like 15 felonies upon jaywalking across the street. This outlaw motorcycle member and it doesn't matter what they stack on you.
Because they're a friend or they know somebody and they start hanging them around and making them an official hang around. Next thing you know, they're prospecting. Before you know it, they got a patch. And I'm going, you've never been in a club.
His dad was a bandito. He borrowed $100 from the club. It might have been 1,000. I don't know. But his own son was 86.
I think it was from that point on, I was like, one day, I'm going to be one of those guys.
And he said, if you don't get on a stand, you're going to lose. You're going to jail. I said, I can't take the stand.
Welcome to this episode of Chatting with Staxx. I'm your host, Bill Staxx, and today I got PeeWee. What's up, PeeWee?
What's up, Staxx?
How you doing?
I'm doing good, man.
Yeah, things are great over here. I'm excited to have you on. Been anticipating this.
Thank you.
Yeah, you have a really interesting story. I wanted to bring it to the people. I seen you on with Mooch and a couple other people, and I was like, I gotta talk to this guy.
Mooch is a good guy.
Yeah.
And it was funny how I reached out to him because him being in the club he was in and the club I was in, I mean, we hated each other, Yeah. Even though I personally didn't know the man at the time. And then I saw him do an interview with that Rick guy. And then he did an interview. And I just wrote on the bottom, I said, hey, Mooch, you're a good speaker. You know what I mean? It was a good podcast. And I enjoyed it. And then he reached out to me and I reached back to him. And then bam, bam. Now we talk all the time, every day.
Yeah. I've had him on twice. I've had him on. Yeah. Great kid. He's been through a lot too.
Yep. Yeah, he has. And it's funny, because he even said, he goes, man, our worlds are like almost the same. How we ended up like in the clubs we ended up and then just to hate each other because it was the thing to do for the club,
That's one of the questions I got for you. So when you join this club, do you assume all the beefs that they have?
Yeah.
No matter what, doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's exactly the way it works, brother. It's crazy because I come from the Midwest. I was born and raised in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So Milwaukee's all outlaws. They're the dominant club there, and they got a bunch of charters all over Wisconsin. But they're the big 1% club. They run Milwaukee and the state of Wisconsin, so they're pretty big there. And I've been around them, so I had a couple of them that were really honest to God, good friends of mine. That I'd actually go to their houses and visit them and talk to them. But the majority of them I didn't trust. You know what I mean? And I didn't feel comfortable around them. You always felt like something was going to go down. So I was just looking for something bigger and better, man. And I was in a Sinners motorcycle club when I first got into motorcycles. It was probably the end of my 20s. I got involved with the Sinners Motorcycle Club, and I was there about 10 years. And man, when I first saw my first Hell's Angel standing there, I was like, that's what I want to be, man. I saw that patch, and I was just, I want to be that. But the funny part is, what we're getting back to with the Mooch is, he did the wrestling in school like I did. I was a state champ in wrestling. And so we both did the high school wrestling. He's still in the jiu-jitsu, but he's a lot younger than me,
Yeah.
And the martial arts and all that stuff that I did that. Oh, I only did that, to be honest with you, Billy, because I like to box. I started boxing when I was 11. So I got hands, right? So I could throw real good with anybody. So the guy goes, why don't you let me teach you how to kick? And come on, bro. I was at the time, 6'8", 450 pounds. I was like, I can't kick. Yeah, you can. Boy, he had me so loosen up and kicking. I was kicking over my head. I was, giving those wheelhouse kicks to people in the side of their face, and I couldn't believe I was doing it. You know,
It's like an extra weapon you got. You didn't even know, right?
Now I do it. I tear my groin out, be laying on the ground.
Yeah, you think you can do it, but your body tells you no, right?
Right. There's a time where it cuts it off, but your brain keeps telling you, I got it, man. But yeah, so that's what me and Mooch talked about. Pretty much, you know, like we had the same interest in the same shit that we liked, and it's weird how you go different paths. And now we're out of that element, and we're friends. I'm sure that pisses a lot of people off, but I don't care, man. You know, I don't care what anybody thinks, really, to be honest with you.
Yeah, you dedicated your life to this club, right?
I did.
And
I did. I mean,
what you were the president of the Sinners, weren't you?
Yeah, for 10 years.
So what made you leave there? Because weren't you dedicated to the Sinners? And how come you didn't try to do a patch over? I was just curious because when I watched the documentary on you, they said that you were kind of pushing back when you were doing your prospecting phase because they thought that because you came from being the president to you didn't want to prospect. Is that
right? He was saying that me and him used to bump heads, and I don't know why, because personally, a personable guy he is, and then sometimes he could be a real asshole. You know what I mean? It depends on his mood swings. I know exactly what they were, bro. It's, you know, he was heavy into steroids at one time, you know, and he's lifting. So did I do it, you know, where a guy squeezing a ball in a store and I scream out, do that again, I'll smash your face in, you know. It's just, you know, it's the roids that make, you know, that roid rage. But he would flip out like over the stupidest little shit, but we're beyond that. You know, I mean, I went to his going away party when he was going to prison. The sad thing is, I think he was already working with the police when he had his going away party, because he was facing 20 years. And this is Pat Matter, the president of Minnesota. And he's facing 20 years. And you know, I think he was close. He had to be close. I was getting like in my late 40s, and he was only like a couple years older than me. He might have been in his early 50s. I'm going to guess, you know?
Yeah.
So when he got that 20 years thrown at him, hey, for anybody, Staxx, you know, that's a lot of time, man, you know? So that's all on him why he decided to take a different route and work with the police.
But you were around when that happened, right?
Well, actually, but I was in a different charter, and I'll explain that to you. I had believe it or not, bro, I hung around. I was a hang around, not a prospect. I was a hang around from like 1991 to 1993, and I lived in Milwaukee, and I would have to drive 6 hours up to Minnesota, hang out, clean up, set up for parties, you know, do all that kind of stuff. And then when Sunday came, I had to fly back to Milwaukee. And I remember, I just got to throw this in there because I know you'll laugh. One of the guys, he's dead now. His name was Tank. He was a big boy. He was a good dude. He had the big, massive beard, you know, like the big Grizzly Adam beard. It was huge.
Yeah. And
he was just a big guy. Here, to give you an example, I gave him a belt that I had. It was a 54-inch waist belt, and it wouldn't fit him. You know, so his gut was like, he was out there, man. And I pull up in the car, and I had this big old Lincoln Town car. And I pulled up in it, and I get out of the car. But coming to Wisconsin, bro, up toward northern Wisconsin, because, you know, leaving Milwaukee, I had to head north to Minnesota. So when I was going like through Eau Claire and stuff like that, bro, it was snowing like a son of a bitch. I mean, snowing, coming down. And then when I get to Minneapolis, hey, they're all out there sitting on their bikes. And, you know, to them, it was a chilly day, but it wasn't cold enough to snow or anything. But it would have been a son of a bitch me flying down the road on the bike, you know, in the snow, because it was sticking to the ground, and I could feel it in my car.
Yeah.
So when I got there, you would have cracked up. I pulled up, and I got out of the car, and he looks over at me and he goes, "What the fuck? You come up here, you want to be one of us, and you're driving a car?" And he points to his back. "That MC back there doesn't mean more continentals." Bro, I just wanted to start laughing when he said it, but, I had to be all serious and go, "Yeah, okay, Tank, I said, "Boy, I came through, it was snowing." He goes, "So what?" Oh, it would have been so what if I would have been like flying on my ass, going down the road. But yeah, that's the only thing. He wasn't a guy of many words, but that's one thing he said. But anyway, I was going up there all the time, and then I'd have to leave Sunday to head back because I had a job,
and they wouldn't let you. They wouldn't let you sit through the meetings or anything yet.
No,
right?
no, you never do that until you're a member.
Yeah.
But they were doing this with me, Staxx, because they didn't really know me, bro. Like when I walked up to one of them at the drag strip in 1991, I says, "Hey man, I'm PeeWee from the Sinners Motorcycle Club, man. How you doing?" He shakes my hand. It was Ralph, and he said, "I'm Ralph, Hell's Angel, Minneapolis." And about 4 seconds passed, maybe 5, and I looked at him and I said, "Hey Ralph, what do I got to do to be you?" And I had my sinner patch on when I said it, because it wasn't that I didn't like the Sinners anymore, bro. It was that I outgrew them. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to make it sound like my head's getting too big, but I outgrew them. I was the guy that was like getting all the designer shirts, with the Sinners down the sleeves, all embroidered, and the embroidered shirts with the patch on the back.
Yeah.
When these guys before didn't even have T-shirts. You know what I mean? All they had was their patches. There was only 10 of them. And then when I came around, my personality, all the people that I knew in my big circle of friends I'm talking about, they all wanted to come around. Then they all wanted to be Sinners all of a sudden when they didn't before. Before you know it, bro, we had like 26 members from 10. And I said, "We need to buy a clubhouse." And I was the one that had to put my name up because nobody could get a loan to buy this house. And then we converted it into a clubhouse. It was like 3 stories high. And it's right across the street from a church. Yeah, so, every Sunday we heard the bells ringing. It was like I had a very good time in the Sinners. I love those guys. I still talk to probably about 4 or 5 of them, that, I'm really close to. And they're not Sinners anymore. They're all out of the club. And the Sinners that they have there now, I don't talk to any of them. I don't really have anything to do with them. But I just told them, I said, "Hey, listen, guys, I really in my heart want to be a Hell's Angel, I'm going to I'm going to drop out of the club, So I dropped out about right after we came back in 1991 from Humboldt, Iowa. I dropped out. And I started doing my thing with the club, but I had to let the Angels get to know me.
Yeah.
And that's what took so goddamn long, bro. So after 3 years, I finally sold my house. And you got to understand, Staxx, I had to keep that on the down low because the other guys would have heard I was moving up there. They would have known what it was for. It would have been shoot 'em up cowboy shit,
Yeah.
So I told no one, bro. Nobody knew. And just what I'm telling you, I know personal friends of mine, they got jacked up by those other guys, and they're like, "Where's your buddy? What's he doing? Tell me you know where he is, because they heard I went up there, but they couldn't prove it. Now, at the time, I just won 1993. I just won the super heavyweight kickboxing championship, right? So I got the belt, the whole thing. It was peanuts, bro. $10,000, man. Those guys are making like in the beginning 60,000 now, shit like that.
Yeah.
But this is 1993. I get 10 grand and woohoo! I was
Back
rolling.
then, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, yeah. With that being said, I just got done doing that, and they called me up and they said, I already moved to Minnesota. I moved there at the end of April. I started prospecting May 4th of 1994. And then they called me up and they said, hey, we need you for a fight. You're going to fight a guy for a world title shot, a guy from Poland. And I was thinking, Staxx, man, how am I going to get from the car to the arena, without getting shot? I mean, it was that serious, because the first year I prospected in 1994, I went to 3 funerals. Funerals.
Were there things going on in the club while you were prospecting? And did anything happen that made you like, damn, do I really want to do this?
I'll tell you, it's funny that you asked me that. The first thing was like some of the little petty shit. You know what I mean? When I say petty shit, it's like, can you possibly imagine me saying this to you? Like calling you in and telling you, hey, Bill, there's no way you're ever going to be a Hell's Angel. You just don't have what it takes. And you're standing thinking, what? What did I do? And then he lays this on me. I come in here with a cold beer and the cooler isn't stacked full of beer, shows me that you don't have what it takes to be in this club. I'm thinking, what the fuck? Hey, ask me to fight, shoot him up with somebody, get down, do whatever I got to do. And you're whining and pissing to me about some beer in a cooler? I guess I ain't cut out for this,
They take the beer serious then, huh?
Right. And it was just like stupid shit like that, bro. But why I was prospecting, there was people, one guy, Roger, he got blown up, put a bomb on his truck. He had a tow truck company and he got in, turned it, boom, blew his legs off, He lived. He's still in the club.
Wow.
And they put his leg back on. The other one was just like half ripped off. They killed Monty. He owned a bike shop in Rockford, Illinois. They shot him up like pretty bad, like 20 times. And then there was another guy named Jack Castle, whose nickname was 4x. He's a little short guy, so 4x4. And he had a really cool chopper with a real long front Springer on it.
The rake.
Yeah, it was old school, bro. Definitely old school. It's on a calendar that Mel Chancey's on. That's 4x's bike. They put it on the calendar. And he got his head shot right off with a M30, like a rifle, and they blew his head off. And those were three funerals that I went to the first year.
Now, what happens when something like that in the club happens and you're a prospect? What happens? Do they tell you like, watch your ass? Do they have a meeting about it? They got meetings, but they don't draw us into them. You gotta like think for yourself, bro. Think outside the box, like, hey, keep your eyes open, look around. And believe me, bro, we were all looking under our cars with mirrors on sticks, for bombs. Yeah. And then Pat's truck, they parked down on the freeway was behind the shop, the bike shop. And next to him was a wood shop where they made cabinets and countertops and shit like that. And if you went to the very back of the yard, then there was a big fence. And if you went over the fence, there was a big green grass hill that you went down. And that was the interstate down there. I think it was like 35, Highway 35. And it was a popular highway. And I think what they did is they pulled up there, they stopped, the guy ran up the hill, jumped over the fence. I couldn't believe it, he had to. And then, unless they handed it to him over the fence, because it was a mercury switch, bomb, when you shake it, as soon as you move the mercury, it sets it off. So I don't think he jumped over the goddamn fence with it. Or maybe they set it once they got over the fence and set it.
Yeah,
right?
You're right. They probably did that. Like I said, I'm no bomb maker. So they put it on his truck. And, thank God it didn't go off. Pat was inside there, and I'm pretty sure he had his son with him, so.
Did he find it? Did he find it on the truck?
Here's what happened. They dropped next door. They dropped a container, a big garbage container, one of those big, the big ones, like when they're remodeling a house or something, big steel one. And he dropped it on the ground, and when it went boom and it hit the ground, it vibrated the ground, blew the truck up. It blew the truck up. The biggest parts on their stack I seen was the taillight. I mean, that truck was demolished. And I guess a guy came out to smoke a cigarette from the cabinet shop, and he saw the guy running. And when the bomb went off, the percussion knocked him on his ass. And then he got up, jumped over the fence, ran down. That guy ran over, saw the car, took off. I think it had Illinois plates on it. You know, everybody just put two and two together who it was, you know, but Pat was lucky, you know, he was lucky on that one.
Did you ever have any run-ins with any of these people, like the Outlaws or anybody?
Oh yeah,
where you had problems?
I had a run-in. I had a run-in with them with. It's in my book too. We had a run-in with them at a Easy Riders show in Chicago. There's about 90 of us there. There was, I don't know, probably 50, 60 of them. And they're walking through there, and they're all like hanging together in a big group, and you could feel the tension. You could cut it in the air with a knife, bro. What they did was, it was like a little bridge. We were on the second floor where the bars were. Yeah. We were standing up there, and you had to go over this little walkway bridge to get to the bar. Well, they wanted to go to it, but they didn't want to walk through us, you know. So they sent this military support club, veteran something. I don't even remember the name of it. It wasn't Vietnam vets or nothing like that. It was some other vet club or whatever. And they come walking. And they were pretty ballsy the way they were walking. You know, they were kind of like, well, we don't give a shit, you know, and they come walking. So they got like right in the middle of us, and then we just started pounding on them, you know, and it was crazy, bro. I mean, I was kneeling as one guy, and I'm boom, boom, giving it to him in the jawbone. And, you know, I can hear this like hideous gurgling sound. And I turn back and I look. There's another guy who was in the club. He's not in the club anymore, but he's in prison for the rest of his life for a different murder. He's down there sticking this guy. And, you know, the knife had that serrage edge on it.
Yeah,
on the top. So, man, all of a sudden I saw him pull it out of his stomach. Man, he pulled the guy's in. Everything came out. And I just kind of looked over and I was like, whew. Time to bail.
You're a prospect at this point.
No, I was a member.
You were a member.
I was a member when that happened, yeah. But I just got off of the guy, you know, and I was like, that was a little too much, you know? Dude was just laying there. I was already kicking his ass. And that seemed to be like, oh, man, that seemed to be like a protocol for me. Because when I was president of Vegas, and that wedding chapel fight happened, I pounded the guy that was the president of Mongols there. I pounded him on the ground, down to the ground, and he was just laying there, bleeding, and a puddle of blood. He wasn't even moving. And one of these cowards that we had in the club, and he is a coward, because every time I seen him fight, he wouldn't come straight up to you, Staxx, and like, hey, you want to get it on, man? Let's go. He would sucker punch you. He was a sucker punching king, you know, and then he'd be on you. It was bullshit. So he runs over. I didn't see it until they put it on the TV, you know, the fight on the TV, clear as day. They got a green arrow over his head like this, you know?
Yeah.
And it shows him run over it, pulls it out. You see him open it, sticks the guy in the back. He's laying on the ground. And what was really up about that, man, was it turned that maybe gross misdemeanor battery into attempted murder. That, like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, one decision.
We all got, yeah, right, bro, because the stabbing, that changed the whole thing. And then I guess he stabbed the other guy too. Like I said, I didn't see it until I watched the videos of it. And then I saw him and I was just like, oh, man, why the hell did he have to do that? Especially when the goons were already down. You know, I could see if they were like slashing at people with knives, stick them, but it was nuts. And that really screwed us up. But that, like I just said, it was like almost like habit for me, you know, that people were getting stuck or something happening to them after I already beat them up.
So what was it like, your prospecting? What's it like when you finally get your patch? And can you tell me about the lie detector tests that they made you take?
Yeah. Well, see, after I did all that hanging around, and then I became, like I told you, a prospect May 4th. But before I become a prospect, they made me take the lie detector test. And it was like real serious. Like, hey, come here, I want to talk to you. You know, I come over, I sit down. There's 3 of them, and Ralph was there, and Ralph and Pat. I forget who the third guy was, to be honest with you. Might have been Rooster or somebody, but we all sat down at the table. And Pat says, well, Charlie, how serious are you about being a Hell's Angel? And I said, I'm very serious. And he said this. And when he said to me, I said to everybody that ever came around the club after I made a member, I said those exact same words that he said to me. You really want to be in this club? You know you may get killed. You may have to kill somebody. Or you may go to prison. Are you ready for that? How do you really answer that, Staxx? I mean, how do you answer it? You know, the guys that sit there and do this? Yeah, hell yeah, I'm ready. Those are the guys you just walk away from, bro. Because that guy's too gun-ho. So I didn't really know how to answer that, to be honest with you. So I just kind of looked at him and said, well, I guess we'll just have to wait and see when the time comes, you know. I'll react in accordance the way I believe I have to, you know. And he goes, all right, well, we're going to ask you right now to do something. Bro, I was sitting there, I'm thinking, oh, no, man, because, you know, I was like, no, I pounded probably 200 people in the city and state of Wisconsin. I mean, knocking them out left and right. But, you know, never ever went farther than that, you know?
Yeah.
So.
And you're thinking they're going to.
Yeah, you know what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like, you ready for this? And I'm like, yeah. And I'm waiting for them to say, we want you to whack this. And I'm thinking, oof. Because, you know, in my head, I'm thinking, can I do this? And would I do this? And it was a lot of would have, could haves. And he says, all of a sudden, he looks at me real straight up and he goes, we want you to take a lie detector test.
You're like, what?
Yeah. Hey, actually, bro, I was relieved. I was like, whew. Yeah, sure, I'll take a lie detector test. So they set it up. I went over to the guy. He hooked me up to all the machine, the whole thing. And it was at an office. They don't do it like at the clubhouse or nothing. You got to go to
legit. Like a legit. Yeah.
Yeah, to this private eyes office and sit there, and then you get all wired up and however they do it. And then, you know, they just sit down and they just ask questions like, you know, you and I are doing right now. And, you know, it's all yes and no questions, right? That's the only way you can answer them. So, you know, he starts off with simple shit like, is your name Charles Goldsmith? Yes. Are you 38 years old? That's how old I was at the time. And I'm like, yes. And he says, to see, you know, how the questions were going to show if I was lying. He says, do you live in the state of Illinois? You know, I just told you where I grew up. So I said, no, you know, and they were just making sure that, and then he told me,
baseline,
right. And then he told me to lie on one when he asked me a question like that. And he says, I want you to tell me the opposite, so they could see like the line, the lie or what the lie movement of the lines or wherever the hell it is. So then, you know, he started asking me questions like, did you ever testify for the prosecution? And I said no. And he said, were you ever a cop or a security guard or anything? I was a bouncer at clubs at the door, but I never wore handcuffs or had anybody arrested or called the cops. So I said no. And then he said, do you want to hurt the Hells Angels and their families in any way? I'm like, no. Then he made me go sit outside for like 15 minutes, and then the guy rearranges all the questions. And you go back in, he asks you the same shit again, but in different sequences just to see if everything lines up. So they said, well, we'll get back to you and we'll let you know what the results are. And we can't let you go any further until that. And then it was, they screwed it up on that show. They said it was Pat that called me. It wasn't. It was Rooster. Rooster called me up and he said, hey, I got some bad news for you. And I said, what's that? He goes, you passed your lie detector test. And I was like, hey, okay. And he goes, yeah. He says, hey, what, are you coming up this weekend? And I said, yeah. And he said, yeah. He said, just bring $350 with you because that's what it costs for a lie detector test. I was like, well, you didn't tell me that.
Yeah, they make you pay for it.
So I don't even care because we already got busted and we're charged with all this shit. So it's all in the books, you know. But it was funny. I thought, man, I don't want to pay him $350. So what I did is I bartered with him. You know, I went up there and sold him like 5 sets of cluster 5-speed cluster that goes in a transmission.
Yeah.
You know, Porsche was making them for Harley Davidson. And I had 2 of the old sinners working at Harley. And I just told them, give me some. And they were throwing the shit in their pants pockets, their lunchbox, down their pants. And they're carrying all that shit out. And then we put it all together. And all you had to do was buy the case, you know, the transmission case. You can buy them anywhere. At any outlet, like, you know, like Jags, Eckler's, anybody. You could buy an empty transmission case. So you put all that shit in. That's the big money, bro. That was like $1,500 when the case was maybe $300.
Yeah.
So now you got a $2,000 tranny, you know, and you got all the brand new gears and it's all set up. So I took it up there and I said, hey, you interested in these? And they're like, hell yeah. And then we got on the kick of that, you know, and then it started like to be a every week thing. 5 sets, 10 sets, 10. And the guys were taking them, they wanted 200. So I threw 250 out at them for me to make 50 because I was just that middle guy, you know.
But they would pay you when you would bring them up to the club. They would pay you for them, or they wouldn't just say, all right, give me those. You're the prospect.
They paid me for them. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they started sending them to other places, you know, like New York, California, South Dakota or North Dakota, wherever they were sending them.
Yeah.
So you know that made it, right? Federal. Yeah. I mean, we're going over the state lines now, so but it was going over the state line anyway from Milwaukee to Minnesota. The guy who was getting them, who's dead now too. That's why, you know, I don't mind throwing these names out. These guys they've been dead for years. His name is Pat. His name is Pat too, but we called him Lightning. That was his nickname. He was cool as hell, and he would always send the gears to wherever we're going. But here's the thing, bro. He worked at Harley, and he started banging one of the broads at Harley, and his wife knew about it. He was trying to get his wife to do a threesome with this chick, and she wasn't having it, right?
Yeah.
And she said, no way, man. I'm not doing it, and you better stop screwing that broad. So I told him, man, bro, don't get yourself in a bind here. And he's like, yeah, I know. So he buys from somebody a frame, a soft tail frame, a hot one, sitting in his garage, and he's got a box of gears, 10 sets in there. And on the top it says, to Mr. PW, which ain't hard to figure out, bro. Vernon Street, you know, St. Francis, Minnesota. I lived outside of Minneapolis.
Oh, was he going to send them to you? He was sending me a set, and here's where it really got bad, Staxx. On the box it said Carlisle Rubber Company. Lightning's sister was married to this guy named Danny, and Danny worked at Carlisle Rubber. He says, hey, let me mail this shit for you because we get a discount through UPS. And I could use our boxing and shipping, and you get our discount. So we're like, okay, let's do it. Which is stupid, bro, because, you know, that's records. Yeah. Records. And when there's, you know, where they went, who got them. So what they did is they took, when this whole thing went down,
Pat left work with that chick, Lightning did, and he went over to her house and he was banging her. His old lady got busted on a DUI. So she was on a house arrest with an ankle bracelet.
Yeah.
She couldn't leave the house. She knew he was over there. She cut the ankle bracelet off, jumped in the station wagon. She goes flying in there, sees his truck. She rams it. Her shit's all messed up. Steam coming out of the radiator. She drives off. But in the meantime, the police already notified because the ankle bracelet got cut off. They know that,
Yeah.
So they're waiting for her. She pulls in the yard and they're like, hey. And she's dead too now. Her name is Darla. And they go, hey, Darla, what'd you cut your bracelet off for? And she's crying, she's all upset. She says, my pig husband, he's cheating on me, this and that. No, well, bro, she didn't give a shit about nothing. She was going to nail him good. So they said, well, we're going to have to take you to jail because, you cut the bracelet off and all thing. And she goes, oh, really? Are you going to take him to jail? That box right there is full of stolen Harley transmissions. And that frame over there is stolen. They checked the frame, and sure enough, it was. And then they took the box. And then when they took the box, they did a little investigation. They went to Carlisle Rubber Company. Holy Christ, man. This was going on for years, bro. A couple years. So they estimated like $270,000 worth of gears gone from the factory.
Holy shit.
And they knew everybody. Like if I was getting them, you were getting them.
Because they sent them right for the rubber company.
Right.
Oh,
right. They're coming to your house, Staxx. They're coming to my house. They hit us all at the same time. It didn't matter.
At this time, are you a member at this point?
No. At this time, bro, I went through all that shit I just told you of hanging around, lie detector test. That was a prospect for 14 months. And at the end of it, Pat just got some hair up his ass and he told me, hey, you're just not cutting it. So we're going to send you down the road, sit out a year, come on back and try it again. And everything I ever did, like I told you, the wrestling, kickboxing, I always excelled at whatever I did. And I was thinking, I can't even get into Hell's Angels. I did everything they asked. I moved up there. You know what I mean? My dues are all paid up. I'm not some slouch. I got a new bike, what the hell do you want, man? I've done everything. What do you mean I'm not cutting it? I don't get it. I'm not cutting it. I looked down the table to see if anybody else had, and they're all looking down at the table. Nobody was looking at me, bro. It was like, it's a feeling like I can't even describe to you. Like they didn't want no part of it. It was just Pat. And, after that happened and I left, believe it or not, I walked out of that meeting room with no rocker. I had to hang up my rocker. They gave me back the money I had coming back to me because I paid my dues up, and I walked out the door and I was actually relieved. I felt like I took this huge shit, you know what I mean? And I was just like, whoa, because it was just so much bullshit. And getting way back to when you said, hey, was there anything I saw that made me think, am I doing the right thing here? I got a good one for you, Staxx. I got hit by a car. And August 28th of, I believe it was, 94. And 1994, August 28th, this kid pulls out of a gas station. He broadsides me. I'm doing about 40. Well, actually, I broadsided him. He pulled right out in front of me. I seen him. I dove off the bike. I thought, let the bike hit him. When the bike hit him, it just disintegrated.
Yeah.
Which I would have been on it. So I hit the ground at 40 miles an hour, bro. No helmet. And I hit the ground and I broke my pelvis, 3 ribs, my wrist, and my scapula, right? I'm sliding along the ground. I'm laying there. I punctured my lung. I could barely catch my breath. I'm laying there trying to breathe. And Pat pulls up in the truck. He's going home from work because his shop was right down the street. And he pulled up in the truck, Staxx, and he looks out the window and he goes, hey, he had he was, I think he's originally from Missouri or something. but he had like that like southern drawl to his voice. Hey, Bubba, you okay? Well, hell no, I'm not okay. I'm fucking laying in the road here. You know what I mean? The bike's all smashed. I can't hardly breathe. I could hear the ambulances coming, but they weren't there yet. And I said, no, I'm not all right, man. I think I punctured my lung. And he says, well, the ambulances are coming. I can hear them. They'll be here shortly. So he says, let me know. Call me tonight. Let me know what's going on with you, all right? I said, all right. He drove away. So, I mean, I just met you, you know what I mean? But if I saw you, I would have stopped and jumped out, ran over Staxx. You okay, man?
Yeah.
I would have stayed there with you till the ambulance got there.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, I just met you, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm not going to lie to you, bro. I was laying there thinking, you know, am I doing the right thing here? I mean, is this part of the brotherhood? He didn't even get out of the truck. That is wild. And I swear to God, bro, that really, really like made me think, is this really what I want? You know? And it was just like stupid little shit, like all this like last minute crap, you know? Well, how much does it cost to get in a club, you know? And then they're like, oh, nothing, you know? Nothing. And I'm already prospecting like 8-9 months. They tell us, oh, we got a clubhouse tax. You got to pay so much of money, which was it was a lot, you know. I don't want to give the figure out, but it was a lot.
Yeah.
They go, you got to pay that before you're brought up for your patch. I was thinking, why did you tell me that fucking 8 months ago? I could have been saving money.
Yeah.
Now in 12 months, you're eligible for a vote. I'm thinking, how am I going to be eligible? I have to pay that money. So I was getting it together. And that's why I did 14 months. Plus, you know, I was like at the house for like 3 weeks. I couldn't walk, do anything. I had a broken pelvis.
Yeah. So you get into the accident. What happens next?
Right. So they like put, I didn't have to come to the clubhouse because, you know what I mean? I was pretty messed up, bro. I couldn't even sit on a toilet.
Yeah, but you didn't even have your patch anymore, right?
No, I just had a rocker then when that happened. So what they did is they just kind of like on a loan on your house, Staxx, they just put it at the end. You know what I mean? Hey, you want to borrow some money? We're going to put it at the end. And I was like, at first, I was kind of hoping like I got like a free month out of this, you know, laying around. But I didn't, bro. They put it on the end.
Yeah.
So, and then when the end came, he told me I wasn't cutting it. And it was crazy. And then I tried to come back after a year. And he told me, he says, you know, him and I didn't have a problem after that because we talk. Him and I would talk cordially, just like you and I are. And he just said, man, Charlie goes, this one of the guys in the charter, he's got an issue with you or something, and he don't want you back. And it's got to be unanimous to get voted back in, you know. And I said, well, man, let me go in the backyard with this guy, you know, mix it up. And he goes, I can't let you pound the shit out of this guy. He's a member. And I was like, oh, okay, man. So we played this game, bro, where like I'd see them and they would just nod their heads to me. And, you know, and deep down inside it bothered me because I was like, man, I want to be one of you guys so bad, you know, and I got like, so I got a lot of shit done on my house. And my house was a brand new house that was put out there. So I never got to finish it. And I was falling behind on my house payments because believe me, bro, when they tell you it's your family, the job, and in the club, it's bullshit. It's the club, your family, and piss on your job, you know?
Club comes first.
Right. And I lost 4 jobs. Staxx. No bullshit. In the first year, I was kind of, hey, man, I got to let you go. You missed too much work. Because they tell you, we're leaving Friday morning for Chicago. We're leaving for San Francisco, you know, on the bikes, man. So, you know, we're blasting off. Just to give you an example, I had, when I crashed my bike, it was brand new. When they took it to the Harley dealer, they said, man, you changed the speedometer on this thing? For May, June, July, August 28th, I had 19,000 miles on it.
Wow. Right.
So, you know, I was just like, oh, man, this This is just nuts.
Yeah, but so if you lost your job, you don't. How are you getting money to pay for gas and to go on these trips? And how do you
It was hard.
even?
It was hard, bro. My wife worked and my daughter went to work. She just graduated. She graduated. She was graduating the year I left Wisconsin, which was really shitty, man, because, I uprooted her, pulled her out of the school that she should have graduated with her class, and the people she knew.
Yeah.
But I pulled her out of there and I took her to Minnesota. So she went to a school there for like the last 3-4 months, whatever it was. And she got her diploma. And then she went to work over where my wife was working at the time, my ex-wife. And they worked together. So actually they're making the money to make the house payments. And when I could work, I work, you know what I mean? And then I lose a job and I go try to find another one. It was crazy. Not until they threw me out. That when I get back to the time I told you they let me go, I took that huge shit, man, walked out the door like, man, I'm done with this. I was relieved. I went back. I worked on my house. I finished it. I poured the concrete steps. I did everything that you can imagine, caught up my house payments, got a job, and I kept the goddamn job, And I worked there for 3 years or something like that. And every year I couldn't come back because that one guy hated me. And then that one guy got in a bad bike accident and he had some head injuries to him and they let him go. And when they let him go, I figured, oh, well, now he's gone, But I didn't want to like go knocking on the door. And,
the day after, right?
Yeah, right. And
hey,
so I didn't go around, Staxx. I really didn't like jump on that wagon. And I was in Sturgis. I had my own motorcycle shop for like 19 years. And Pat came out there and one of his bikes was messed up. So we brought it to the shop and my mechanics worked on it. And he said, hey, come on over to the campgrounds where I'm at. He had a big like motor bus, And he said, come over, He said, let's rap. You and me, let's talk. So we went over. It was a good talk, We had a good talk. And he said, I want you to come back, PeeWee. Come on back. And I said, okay. And he said, so when we get back and we have church, we'll have you come to church and then you can stand up in front of everybody and tell them your intentions, I said, okay. Well, in the meantime, before that even happened, Staxx, because I was getting that runaround, I was still running around, going down to Chicago, hanging out with Mel Chansey all the time. And me and Mel running around, being goofy, beating on people in bars and stuff like that, the right people.
Yeah.
And we were still doing that thing. And I wasn't even part of the club, bro, but I was doing it because Mel is like my blood brother,
Yeah.
Like the blood brother because he's really close to me. We talk every day. He just hit me up today. I'm going to go visit him. And
he's a great guy.
Oh, he is. And he just hit me up today and he cracks me up. So Mel was trying to, he was trying to get me to go to Chicago, to come there, transfer there. But you always got to go back to where you start to get permission to go somewhere else. So I still had to go in front of that room. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In the meantime, Mel catches a case. They send him to prison. So that kind of like dropped the bucket right there. You know what I mean? Those other guys wouldn't have fought for me like Mel would have. And I was like, now what? And then I ran into one of the Frisco guys, and I always got along great with Frisco, San Francisco.
Yeah.
And they were like, why don't you come out here, man? I says, yeah. I was worried about, was I going to make it out there? Or because, the cost of living is like living in New York. So I says, so you guys would. So I went to their church, to their meeting, and they all said, hey, we'll take you, man. They all agreed on it. They said,
at this point, did you have a bottom rocker?
No, I was nobody. I was nothing. So I said, okay. I said, let me go to this meeting thing with Pat, and I'll tell him that I want to move on and move from Minnesota to San Francisco. And it was kind of a weird thing, Staxx, because I showed up that Thursday for their church, And we're waiting. No Pat. He never shows up. So they come on and they tell me, hey, Pat's not here. He don't feel good. So we're just going to go hanging out and hit some, some titty bars and stuff. So you want to go with us, you can. But other than that, it's best if you just come back next week. I'm thinking, okay. So in the meantime, Ralph already quit. The big guy I told you about?
Yeah.
Ralph, he already quit. He did like 5 years and he quit. And that's within 94, 95, 96, 97, 98. So this is like 1999, actually. So he, I went over to his house and I said, man, what do you think is going on? He told me, listen, dude, Pat's going to screw you some way. Get the hell out of there. And I said, man, I'm trying to save us some money. I got to take this trip. I had a cargo van. I put my motorcycle in it, all my shit. And it sounds pretty selfish of me, and it was. My 2 kids were there, and my ex-wife at the time. She was my wife at that time, but I told them, hey, I'm going to go to Frisco. I'm going to do this thing. Let me do it on my own because it was too hard with the family. And she was taking care of the household pretty much on her own, Yeah. I think back on it now, what a huge mistake it was. And I shouldn't have done it because it mentally really, really fucked up her head, man. Bad. It did. I didn't know, she had like a nervous breakdown on it. And it was just me being selfish, man. I didn't think about anybody else. It was just like, man, I'm going to be a Hell's Angel. And then later I seen the consequences of how bad it was. And it was a downfall in my life at that time. But, when I got to Frisco, well, first of all, let me get back to telling you. So the next, Ralph says, get out of here, man. And he hands me $2,000. I said, what's this for? And he goes, here. I says, oh, I don't know. I could pay you back. He goes, I don't want you to pay me. I'm giving it to you. Get out of here. He was going to give me this big gold bracelet, but naturally, not even handcuffs fit my wrist, I got some big wrist.
Yeah.
So here, just take the $2,000 and go to California and live your dream. Do what you want to do, PeeWee. Live out your dream. And if it ain't what you want, then, you always know that you did it. And I said, okay, man. So the next week comes, I go to church again. You believe this, bro? Pat doesn't show again. Yeah, again.
Is this the time he's cooperating?
No. He wasn't cooperating then. And then I thought, son of a bitch. But they called me in the room anyway, so that was good. And I went in the room and they said, you want to come back? And I said, yeah, it was like in October. And they said, when do you want to start? I said, how about the first of the year, a fresh start, And they said, all right. And I said, but I want to transfer. I want to go to Frisco. And they just were like, what? A couple of the guys in the back were like this. Hey, you got a place for me to stay when I come there, right? I said, you got it, man. So they go, we got to think about this. We're going to call Frisco right now and ask them. So they call Frisco, and Frisco goes, hell yeah, we want them. We're taking them. So he goes, I got to call Pat, ask Pat. He asked Pat. Pat says, let him go. So it was off to San Francisco I went, And my son at the time, Brad, he rode with me in the van, and it was sad. I had to put him on the plane to fly him back. And the saddest part about it was like, the way I put it in my book, Staxx, I put it like, putting him on the plane, flying back, it was like sending the last personal thing of mine, of my family away. It was like, go, And that's how I felt, man. I mean, I could feel that, man. My heart was broke, and I put him on the plane. He flew back, and then I started doing they made me hang around for like 2 months, 3 months, 2 months, I think it was.
Before you got your prospect patch.
Right. Then I got my prospect patch. And then, when I made member there, it meant a lot because they're the second charter ever of Hell's Angels, so that's a big deal, bro,
Yeah.
Like, you're like history right there.
What one was one of the first ones?
San Bernardino, Purdue.
Yeah,
they were first, and then Frisco. And that's why you've seen all the Purdue guys and the Frisco guys on the stage in Altamont, you know?
Yeah.
So, the night they called me in, it was pretty cool. You know, they called me up into the room, and they had me like a little flustered, bro. You know, I'm standing there, and you always got to watch what you say, man, because, you know, sometimes you slip of the tongue, say something stupid, man, and boom, you're gone. And so I got up there, and I thought I was getting like reamed out for something or something I did. And I came up there, and they were yelling about something, and it's so long ago that I really, honest to God, can't remember exactly what it was about. And they were yelling, and one guy stands up, and it was Tony, he's out of the club now, but I'm still great friends with him. He's still my brother, you know, and we talk. And Tony says to me, hey, what would you have told that guy? They were talking about me talking to this other guy that they sent down the road, and they didn't want me to talk to him. And he goes, what could you say to that guy that you shouldn't have, you know, being a Hell's Angel? Well, I stood there for a minute, and I'm thinking, oh, what does he mean, being a Hell's Angel? Oh, maybe he's thinking, or he's saying to me,
like if you were one.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Or when I become one. So that's what I'm thinking. And I said, well, you know, and I was kind of like dumbfounded. I was like, you know, trying to think of how to say it. And he looks at me again, real serious, and he goes, you're a Hell's Angel. What the hell would you say? And I looked at him again like, the fuck are you saying, man? And all of a sudden he reaches behind me, pulls out a patch, shoves it in my face, and he goes, congratulations, now you're in, you know? And it felt like, you know, like almost like winning state championship wrestling again, you know?
Yeah.
I was like, yeah. And it was funny, bro, because the guy who gave me the vest to put on, he was a big guy, but he wasn't as big as me, you know? I got a big 60-inch chest, you know? So I go to put on his vest, and it's like up about here. You know, I couldn't put it together unless I had like straps, but it was right here. Bro, I didn't give a shit. I was doing a fat guy in a little coat, you know? I was just happy I was one. And they're like, come on, we're going to go party. So we all jumped on the bikes, and we went down to the Cats Club, which is like a famous club in San Francisco. We went down there, we partied there all night, and shit, I think I left there about 4:00 in the morning or some shit like that. And then we went to the clubhouse, and I lived in the back of the clubhouse. I had an apartment in the back, so I didn't have far to go, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a pretty cool feeling. And to make you laugh, on one of the things, there was a brother from Long Island, big guy. And they call him Big Rod, right? He was as big as me, bro. Just from, I guess, like California lingo, you know, where we all, hey, bro. We're always saying bro. So he came there for a funeral, and I was a prospect. I had to drive him to this funeral. And I get out of the van. I said, hey, bro, you want anything to drink or eat? And he goes, hey, quit calling me fucking bro. I ain't your bro. And I said, well, it's just the way I talk, man. And he goes, well, you ain't a member and you ain't my bro, so don't call me that. So yeah, so we go to do something else, and I walked over, and I remember when we got there, he was still sitting like in the van, but everybody's like jumping out and going to the you know, up to where the casket was and everything. It was a funeral we were going to, and this guy got killed on a motorcycle, another member, and I walked over to the van and I said, hey, bro, everybody's walking up there. He goes, I told you not to call me, bro. and I was thinking to myself, well, me and this big boy got to fight. We're going to fight, you know, but that's just the way it is. I wasn't doing it disrespectfully. It's just the way I talk.
Yeah.
So I'm at the clubhouse. You're going to die, man. I just made member, right? The phone rings. I pick it up. Frisco. And that's how they always answer the phones, whatever state they were, right? Or charter. So I pick up the phone, I go, Frisco. He goes, yeah, this is Big Rod from Long Island. I'm calling up there. I need to talk to someone. And I forget who he asked to talk to. And I said, this is PeeWee, bro. He goes, hey. And I go, hey, before you start bitching, I made member yesterday, or tonight. That's what it was, which was the next day, actually. But I said, I made member last night. And he goes, oh, congratulations, brother. God, the guy was a trip, man.
That's fun.
Yeah, and then him and I got along great after that. But yeah, he wasn't on the bro thing, But yeah, I used to do like stupid shit. I'm only laughing, bro, because now I think back on it. Some of the shit was pretty funny. They have another guy. His name was Stevie. He got kicked out of the club, and he was a real dickhead, And he came to Frisco, and he got a big tattoo on his forearm. I can't remember what the fuck it was, but one of the friends of Frisco, a big bodybuilder guy, comes walking over, and here we go again with that California lingo, okay? And he walks over and he goes, hey, man, did you see my new tattoo? And he shows it to him. And I'm standing on the other side of him. And he looks at Stevie's arm, and Stevie's a member. He was from Indiana. And he looks at his arm, and the dude goes, that thing's fucking sick. He walks away. And Stevie starts doing this. Like, what the hell did he mean by that? Because he went, that's sick. And he walked away. And I said, yeah, that just means, it just means it's like sick. It's badass, man, It's cool. He digs your tattoo, And he goes, you guys got like weird lingo up here in California. And I said, yeah, so I says like, and believe me, bro, I was still a prospect when I said this to him. But yeah, he was freaked out. I says, so like a lot of times when we're joking around and shit, because it's Frisco, don't like freak out, because this is just like a joke thing. Like if I say to you, instead of I yell, hey, Stevie, and I yell, hey, it's just a joke thing, He goes, you better call me. I just started laughing. I thought I'd try to get away with it, bro, because I would have called him that all day.
How much of a difference was it hanging out up in Minneapolis compared to
day and night, bro, day and night. They were like, I wouldn't get like no 45-minute lectures about stocking a cooler full of beer or anything like that. Matter of fact, it was funny. They were saying, hey, man, our cooler's taking a shit. And we had like a small cooler. It was like the size of a refrigerator, And we're stacking that in there. We had a huge clubhouse. It was huge, bro. It was a classic clubhouse. It had members' bikes in the walls, embedded in the walls, like in shrines, with all their stuff around it. It was really cool, bro. I mean, it would almost be like a museum for you to go in and see. That's how cool it was. These guys, they didn't play any of that, the cooler games, right? So getting back to the cooler, they said, hey, PeeWee, man, our cooler's taking a shit. If you see one cheap or something, let us know, because we're going to have to buy a new cooler or some shit. So I come around the corner down the street on my bike. So you got to go like up the street on Tennessee Street. That's where the clubhouse is. So you go up to the top of the hill and you turn right. There's like a little, I don't want to say 7-Eleven, but that's what it's like, a 7-Eleven.
Like,
but it was a little grocery store. And it was being remodeled inside. They were gutting the store, and all the shit was tarped out in front of it, right? So I turn the corner and I'm looking at it, and I see this big, like probably 8 feet by 10 high, big old cooler, big giant one. And I'm thinking, oh, we got to have that. So I went down to the clubhouse, man, and I got a couple 4-wheel dollies that we had in the back room. I went over and I had to lay that thing on its side, bro, and I had to and roll it down the hill. And I'm telling you, this hill was steep. I think when he got away from me, and it almost did twice. And I was trying to, it's taking off, and it weighed so much. There was no way I could have stopped it from flipping over if it was going to flip.
Yeah.
That's how heavy it was. But I got it down to the end of the road, and we had a big garage door. I opened it up, wheeled it in, took the old cooler out, put the new one in, let it sit for a while. I put all the beer in it. It was stacked. They all came in and were like, where the hell did that come from? And one of the guys in the club worked for Budweiser. So anytime, he would go into a store, Staxx, and they say, this beer's outdated. You know what I mean? Well, really, is beer outdated, bro? No. Guys can have beer. Yeah, the guys have beer in the garage for 2-3 years. You're drinking it. You know?
Yeah.
You don't even know. This shit just like last month, it expired. It doesn't expire. It's just, they can't leave it in the store. So he would always bring, man, we had so much Budweiser and that shit. We never paid for beer. Never. And that guy that worked for Budweiser, his name was Anthony. And that sick bastard, he ended up killing his 2 kids, his wife and himself.
What?
Yeah. Suicidal. He killed them first, and then he shot himself.
You're in San Francisco. Where do you go from there, and how long do you stay there? And was there any big events that happened in your life when this was happening? And did you go back to Minnesota, and what was it like when you went back to Minnesota?
Believe this, bro. I went back to Minnesota when Pat got busted on his federal case. They gave him 20 years. He had a going away party. And I went to his going away party, and I seen there was people, all kinds of people. Other clubs were there. Club I love dearly, the Hell for Sterols. They're big in the Midwest. They're a big 1% club, and they started way back in like 62.
Yeah,
and those guys are still my friends to this day. I love them. They're great. They're a true brotherhood, and they were there. I see one of their members give Pat a nice gold ring and, say, hey, man, it's bad this is happening to you. And we're all there hanging out with him. And Pat looks at me and he says, Charlie, can you ever forgive me for what I did to you? Running me down the road. But now I was a Hell's Angel, right? California one. And I said, well, Pat, I already forgave you because I came to your going away party. Obviously, I'm not holding a grudge. Or I wouldn't have came.
You're in San Francisco. Where do you go from there, and how long do you stay there? And was there any big events that happened in your life when this was happening? And did you go back to Minnesota, and what was it like when you went back to Minnesota?
Believe this, bro. I went back to Minnesota when Pat got busted on his federal case. They gave him 20 years, and he had a going away party. And I went to his going away party, and I seen there was people, all kinds of people. Other clubs were there. Club I love dearly, the Hell for Sterols. They're big in the Midwest. They're a big 1% club. And they started way back in like 62.
Yeah,
and those guys are still my friends to this day. I love them. They're great. They're a true brotherhood. And they were there. I see one of their members give Pat a nice gold ring and, say, hey, man, it's bad this is happening to you. And we're all there hanging out with him. And Pat looks at me and he says, Charlie, can you ever forgive me for what I did to you? Running me down the road. But now I was a Hell's Angel, right? California one. And I said, well, Pat, I already forgave you because I came to your going away party. Obviously, I'm not holding a grudge, or I wouldn't have came, And I thought it was pretty funny. He says, hey, look, when we get done here, we'll stop by the clubhouse. He said, I want to give you like each charter had a different death head, not like the original logo one you see on their backs.
Yeah.
the club, the charters would make up like a different one. Like Amsterdam had the one with the 3 X's in it. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. And
Yeah, like a unique one for each place.
Right. And like Orange County had one with a bandana on its head, a different shit. You know, me being in San Francisco, I don't think we really had like a Frisco one. I don't remember. People that gave me death heads from like different charters, I wear a couple of those. And so Pat says, hey, you know what I want to do? I want to give you a Minnesota death head pin. You want one? I said, sure. So he says, yeah, when we go over to the clubhouse, we'll get it. That's all right. So when the bar closed and we all went over to the clubhouse, you know, he says, hey, come on, follow me. I'm going to go get you a pin. Walk in, he goes, hey, man. He opens his drawer and there's all these pins in there. And he goes, which one do you want? And I says, I don't know, you got a 5-year one in there? And he looked at me, because, you know, I only been in the club like a year and a half, 2 years, right?
Yeah.
But you know where I was going with that, right, bro?
Yeah.
You got a 5-year one? Because I feel like I got fucked out of those 5 years.
Yeah.
That's how I felt. He laughed. He actually laughed. You know, he knew it was like funny, ha-ha bullshit. But yeah, he laughed, but he gave me a pin. Not a 5-year pin, but he gave me a pin. And honestly, I think he was already working with the police at that time. He was already making deals, you know. I can't prove it, but I think he was. And because there was a situation where he asked me, what did you do with your house? The house that I had, that one I was telling you, I finished it up when I got done, when I got kicked out.
Yeah.
Well, I sold it to this guy that everybody knew. And he couldn't go to a bank, Staxx, and get a loan because he sold this, right?
Yeah.
The white stuff. And he was making tons of money on it. And he had tons of money, tons of cars, tons of motorcycles. He wanted to buy my house because it was out in the country, 3 acres, no neighbors, cornfields all around you. And he's like, I want your house, man. He wanted the privacy. And he said, I can't get a loan. I can't get a loan to buy your house. He goes, how about I give you a big chunk of cash and then I'll make your house payments. That's kind of a dangerous thing, my friend, you know, because if he stops making house payments, I got to make them. But he gave me like $45,000 in cash. I owed $105,000. The house was worth about, at that time, we're talking 1999. Yeah, 1999 when I moved, did the Frisco move. And then I said, yeah, give me $45,000 in cash, and I owe $105,000 on the house yet. That's what I owed. And he gave me the cash. We're on the floor, bro, counting 5s, 10s, 20s, 50s.
Big stack of money.
Yeah, you know how that goes.
Yeah.
I wish it would have been all $100 bills, but it wasn't because it wasn't all bank transfers, you know. So we counted up the money. We did it. And I told Pat that. And I said, he bought it and you know, he's making the payments. And I'll be a son of a bitch if that wasn't in his paperwork, you know.
Wow.
Yeah. So what happened was that really like messed me up at the time was, you know, he was making the payments, you know, he made the payments, but damn Staxx, he paid the house off in 3 years. And I didn't even have a job. So, you know, Wells Fargo calls me up after 3 years and they go, congratulations, Mr. Goldsmith. You just, you know.
Oh, but it's still in your name, right?
Right. Because I told you I gave him my payment book. And he go, congratulations, you got $800 coming back on the escrow and your house is paid off. So I call him and I go, man, what the hell are you doing? And he goes, I thought you'd be happy. I paid it off. And I go, God damn, bro. I'm not even working, man. They're going to try to figure out how I came up with $105,000.
Holy shit.
Yeah, but it's all in the paperwork. It was all in the paperwork. So, you know, whatever would have happened, but it never came back on me. But, yeah, he paid it off, and then he got busted, and he ended up going to prison for about 30 years. And I don't know who owns the house now. It doesn't really matter. But, yeah, I told that to Pat like I'm telling it to you right now. And when I got all the paperwork, you know, when we went through the federal system. I got all the paperwork on him, and yeah, that's in there. And there's all kinds of shit that he said. And I was just like, God damn. I think the only thing that really bothered me is when he said I was a Midwest distributor of methamphetamine, because I didn't even mess with the shit. I never sold it. I never bought any of it ever personally with my own cash. Sure, it was around.
Yeah.
And I wasn't, goody two-shoe guy, I had some thrown in a can of Coke on the way to Sturgis when I was a prospect. Yeah, that was the first time I ever did it.
Did it freak you out when that happened?
Oh, yeah, it freaked me out bad, bro. Bad. Because, I was falling asleep in the back of the pack because I had watched that night at the clubhouse, so I was up all night. Yeah. I wasn't doing any drugs. So we left at 6 a.m. We're jamming, man. We're already we're way in the South Dakota past Wall Drug and wherever the hell it was. And I'm falling asleep in the back. Somebody threw some shit in a can of Coke. I walked by and they said, where you going? And I said, I'm going to go get some something to drink with some sugar or something, wake me up. I didn't like the Red Bull shit and all that, but I was going to just drink some soda and get some sugar in me. And Pat Matter was standing there, and he said, hey, Charlie, I don't want this Coke. I just opened it, and I don't feel like drinking. If you don't want it, I'm just going to throw it in the garbage. When he handed it to me, it was ice cold, bro. It was ice cold. When I took a sip of it, it was ice cold. So I knew he just opened it,
Yeah.
I drank it, and then as I was walking away, he basically tapped me in the back, and he goes, you'll be okay now. You'll be awake. And I'm thinking, no way, man. No way did they do that. No way. Yeah, to me, that's just not brother shit to me. I would never do that. Slip it in your. It's like
that's terrible to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like slipping me a roofie or something. What do you guys want to butt jam me or something? I mean, what else could you slip me?
When does it start kicking in? While you're driving?
Kicked in as soon as we hit the highway. Bro, we're jamming. I had this FXR, and I'm in the back jamming on this bike. I feel it kick in, and I'm kind of like, come on, let's get there, And I'm like, we're in the back, and I can't go fast enough. My heart's pounding. Oh, yeah, man, it woke me up like that. Wow. I didn't sleep for 3 days. 3 days I was awake, running like an idiot all over the place. And when I shut down, oh, man, 14 hours, I laid on the bed, and, I'm a prospect. I got to do shit. There's shit for me to do.
Yeah.
I fell asleep for 14 hours, bro. So naturally, I was in trouble again, right? Who the fuck do you think you are? You sleep whatever you want. I was trying to catch up for 3 days of sleep. And I didn't know I slept 14 hours. They told me that. And when I got up, I was just like, well, sorry, man, So then, they said, you were supposed to watch the bikes. You were supposed to do this and that. Yeah, I was always on the shit carpet, bro. But with that being said to you, we're all in the same motel. And guess who was there at that time in 1994? Pat went out to the track because he drag raced. He had a drag bike, Top Fuel, and he was good at it. And that was like my funnest part of the club, being in Minnesota, watching him drag race. He was damn good at it. And I really, really enjoyed that because I used to drag race cars, And I was running 1030s, 140 miles an hour in a car back in the early 80s. I very seldom saw George Christie. And it wasn't because George was busy. And he was always running around. And then it's funny, after we both got out of the club, we went to dinner one night and we were sitting there and he, he asked me, he says, does it bother you all the shit they say about us in the club? And I said, yeah, it bothers me. And bothers my integrity because I know who I am. I didn't snitch on nobody. I didn't do anything wrong. I walk with my head high. I know who I am, bro. I'm a man, Hey, I got offered a deal and the feds came to the prison when I was in prison and they said he'd give me $5,000 and they'd get me out right now. All they wanted me to do is tell them how the club operated. The inner operations, not telling like on you, but to tell how the club ran.
Yeah.
And if it was snitching or not snitching, I didn't give a shit. I just said I don't want to do it, And I ended up doing 29 months. on a 2 to 5. So that right there, goes to show that. And I know for a fact that Pat was working with those guys already, because those guys were trying to set me up. This is what I was going to tell you. Those guys were always trying to set me up in the club to buy meth. And I couldn't understand why, because I never sold the shit. Because Pat told them I was a Midwest distributor of methamphetamine. So all these members that got busted were wearing wires on me. Oh, yeah, 3 of them.
Wow.
And they'd be, hey, I got this pound, man. I'm telling you, I'm giving it to you for a good deal. And I said, I don't want it. I don't give a shit.
And they were all from Minnesota.
No, none of them. No. Pat did his little snitch thing. You know what I mean? And what he said, but no, these guys, this one guy's name was Mason Mike. He's a piece of shit, He wore a wire on all of us, and he testified in the Laughlin trial against the club. And another one was this guy named Kelly, who was from Rockford, Illinois. It was just a funny situation because a member from Rockford got stabbed, got punctured in the lung, and he was pretty bad in the ICU unit at the hospital. I went down there to see him, and the cops were all freaking out because I was there, because they figured I was a guy taking care of business,
Yeah, big, huge guy comes walking in, yeah.
And I had this hoodie on that I had a big death head on the stomach, and over the top, and the letters over the top of it said "Filthy Few," And they're like, "Oh, we know why you're here. I'm here to see my brother," I did that. Well, when we were in the car driving, I said to Kelly, I said, hey man, do you know where that guy lives? The guy that did the sticking? And he goes, yeah. I said, well, pick me up tonight, at the hotel about 8:00. And he goes, all right. And not because I knew he was wearing that. Believe me, if I would have known that, I would have punched his lights out right there, and tore it off of him. But I didn't know that. And so I did this to him. I says, and pick me up at 8:00 and bring me one of these, Thank God I did that, because if I would have said it verbally, I probably,
would have
been more of a conspiracy shit. But he never picked me up, and nothing ever happened. So
when you're in San Francisco, do you get transferred again, right? Do you go to?
What I did was, it was so hard. Honestly, God, Staxx, it was so hard. It's like living in New York. Like I said, the price, the cost of living was so high there. I was struggling, bro. And then, I told you I sold the house and I moved my wife out there. My kids were already grown up on their own. And I brought the wife out there, and I didn't know about the nervous breakdown, and she was going through some hard times out there too. She couldn't sleep. She had like, what do you call it? Sleep deprivation or whatever the hell, how you say it.
But at the time, the whole thing with the Mongols is popping off, right?
Right. And now I was used to coming from Minnesota, the Midwest, where we were fighting with the outlaws all the time. Now it's something in California. Now it's a new crew and a new fight.
Yeah.
But it was weird. It was like, we would like run into each other, and it wasn't no gladiator shit like what it should have been, like straight up just boom, rush each other like something out of Braveheart and get it on, but it never was like that, Staxx. It was kind of more like that mean mugging, and like nobody really wanted to make a move or do it, because trust me, there was times where I said, well, I'm going to go do it. No, hey, you better not, man. And I kept saying to myself, man, why are these guys making me second guess myself? You understand what I'm saying? I'm like, well, why are you making me think, man, that I can't, you're going to get in big trouble if you do this, if you do that? I'm like,
see, it reminds me of a situation. I was involved in a street gang when I was younger, right? And we had a meeting one time, and they said, there's a green light on these people. So I know what that means. I thought all of them knew what that meant. So the next couple of days go by, and I'm with some people. We drive by this pizza parlor, and I see one of them in the pizza parlor. So we pull the car over, we get out, I go into the pizza parlor, and I start fighting him in front of his wife, and he's with his kid. But we had a green light. It's like whatever. So they call a meeting. The next day they call a meeting, and I'm in trouble for unnecessary beef. When the day before they were saying it's a green light on these dudes.
Right.
And now I'm in trouble and I got to get a bounce, and where you put your hands up and they punch you in your ribs. And it was just like, this is bullshit.
Yeah.
And
it is, bro.
It sounds like the same type of situation.
Yeah,
like
it is. It is. And it was something to do with when I went back to the Midwest, you know what I mean? And it was something to do with when all the outlaws were there, and the tension was thick. Like I say, you could cut it with a knife. And I said, well, I'm going to go up because I had some personal issues, with those guys and the shit they did with me when I was in the Sinners. I mean, just like one time they jumped me and I fought like 3 of them,
Yeah.
And it was just like personal shit. So I said, I'm going to walk into that crowd. And one of the East Coast guys said to me, because I was from California, hey, man, we're at war with these guys, but if you go do that, you're from the West Coast, we're East Coast. We don't come to the West Coast and start shit with the Mongols and shit, because that's your beef over there. Are we in the same club? So, you know what I mean? I'm telling you, honest to God, Staxx, I was confused on a lot of that stuff. It's like so much politics. And I mean,
and basically that's what got you into some trouble, right?
Yeah.
Eventually.
Yeah.
And so how did you end up to where you were? Did you transfer it again?
So what it was hard for me to make a living there. And I went from the $800 a month for the apartment in the back of the clubhouse. They had another building on the other side with apartments in it. They said, we'll give you one of those apartments. We usually get $2,200 a month. I mean, that's, hey, it's Briscoe, bro. And he said, we'll just charge you $1,600. Bro, I was having problems with the 800.
Yeah.
To come up with that.
Double.
Because when I moved out there, they said, yeah, there's plenty of Teamster jobs, union jobs. There was none. I went to the hall. They said, there's nothing. So they got me hooked up with this guy named Tony, who owned the Cats Club, the place I told you we went to the night I made member.
Yeah.
He gave me a job. He paid me $25 cash an hour. So I worked like 4 hours every night. I come in like at 9 o'clock and close it at 2, whatever. And he paid me $100 a night. If I did have 4 or 5 hours, I was making only like $500 a week. That ain't shit, bro.
No.
That ain't shit. I don't care where you live. That ain't shit. Not even here in Hillbilly Town, in Arkansas. Hillbillies make more money than that. So I was struggling, bro. I just asked the charter. I said, hey, man, why don't you guys let me go and I'll get some guys together and I'll go to Las Vegas. We don't have anybody there, and I'll start a charter there. Because I already talked to Union Hall, man. They had a job lined up and everything for me, and I mean $36 an hour, and I was like, and then I did 2 things. I worked for the convention industry, hauling trailers, moving the crates back and forth on a showroom floor. And then I went on a movie list, and I did so many movies. Any movie you saw, bro, in Las Vegas, like I told you, I worked it. I was a Teamster. I drive a camera truck, a grip truck, a prop truck. I drove the artist around one time, or they might stick me in a van for the day, a 15-passenger van, and I drive the crew back and forth from the set to base camp to the set to wherever. Afterwards, I'd take them all to their hotel, to their the casinos they were staying at and stuff like that. So,
did you meet Sonny Barger at this time?
Well, I met Sonny in '94 when I was prospecting, and it was funny. He was standing there talking with Chuck Zito, who was doing like some little movie shit. I mean, little tiny granule salt pieces of movies, you know. But
Yeah.
to him, he thought he was Al Pacino, you know. But he was talking to Sonny, and I said, man, I'm going to go down and get a picture with those guys. And everybody said, don't do it, man. Don't do it. So I walked down there and I said, hey, can I get a picture with you guys? They go, yeah. And I put my arms out like this, and I put around Sonny, you know, he stood up like, you know, puffed out his chest. It was pretty funny, you know, and they showed that picture on there. And I walked back up on top of the hill where I was doing a watch, you know, so nobody could walk into our party.
Yeah.
And an Australian brother walks up to me, and he says, hi, mate. You're a big son of a bitch. And I said, yeah. He goes, hey, you mind me getting a picture with you? And I said, no, I don't mind. You know, I mean, what was I going to say to him? You know, you got to introduce yourself to everybody, Staxx. When you're a prospect, you got to literally walk up, hey, I'm PeeWee. I'm a Hells Angel prospect, Minneapolis. You got to say that to every member.
Yeah.
You have to introduce yourself, yeah. So I shake his hand, and that's how we started talking. I introduced myself. And then I took a picture with him, and he walks away, bro. And all of a sudden I hear this, PeeWee! And I look down the hill, and it's Pat.
No.
And he says, what the hell do you think you're doing? I don't even know what the hell he's talking about, right? So I look around like, what? He says, boy, you think you're too cool for school. Now I'm really thrown off, bro. Now I really don't know what the fuck he's talking about. So I go like, what do you mean? And he goes, we'll talk later. We get back to the motel. I said, okay. Oh, I got back there. He just basically told me to not try to build bridges and other charters and countries, and that I should be doing my prospect job and not mingling. I said, well, I was told to introduce myself to everybody, so I'll just stop doing that, you know? He goes, no, you won't. You have to do that. It's one thing or the other, bro. You know what I mean? It's so that's like some of the crazy shit. Like I could keep jumping back and forth telling you, you know, but that was a mind game right there. You know, I was just like, what? I'm too cool for school. Why? Because I took a picture with the guy.
He's like scolding you like a young child that got in trouble, right?
You know what?
Like that?
But you know what? He reached out to me after we just did that last show together last week, Sunday. And he said, hey, you did a good job, PeeWee. And he says, it's not easy being the president, is it? You know, and he's right. And he said, the only thing I ever regretted was misjudging you and sending you down the road. So that meant a lot to me, bro. You know, I mean, it wasn't not like saying, hey, I'm sorry, but he said he regretted it. You know, that he said, you were a good Hells Angel. You were a really good Hells Angel. And I hope your book sells well. And he said, I wish you the best. And I said, thanks, Pat. You know, so I don't know. You know, just because of what he did, I don't hate him or who cares anymore, bro? You know what I mean? If you're in a club, you can keep doing the hate thing. I'm out of the club. I don't really give a shit. You don't know, like, oh, you're all bad. You're all bad. Don't you feel bad that you're all bad?
We're going to get to that. Like, so what's it like to go from San Francisco and start a whole new charter?
Oh,
when you do that, are you the president off the rip? Like, you're calling the shots out there?
No, what we did is when we got there, I had to have 6 guys. So I had 7 guys. And I said, let's all sit down and you guys put in who you want to be the president and this. I didn't say, I'm running this. And they all said, we want you to run it, PeeWee. And I said, all right. And I became the president, and it was nonstop. The whole 10 years I was, you know.
What did it feel like to get that patch for the president?
It was cool, bro. It was really cool. It was an honor. You know, I tell you another funny little story. I was with one of the brothers from Richmond. His name is Big Mike, and he was like one of my favorites. He probably hates me now too, like the rest of them all do. But Big Mike was a good dude, man. I really dug the shit out of him, you know. And I enjoyed his company, hanging out with him. And we were staying in the same bungalow in Spain. We went for a world run to Spain, Madrid, Spain. And when we pulled up, in the bus that picked us up from the airport, they had a prospect. He couldn't even speak English, Spaniard guy, and he was driving us back to the run site. We get jacked up by these military guys, bro. They're in a sandbag bunker. I ain't bullshitting you. Sandbags. The guy with the machine gun in there, and they're all like, get out of the van, or screaming. They got the machine guns and shit. And we get out, and Big Mike was the president at the time in Richmond. And, he gets out, he's got the little tag on president or whatever it was. And I got my tag on president stuff. So when I get out, not that they couldn't read or anything, but they were trying to find out who the main guy was, which the Angels don't have one national president. They don't have that.
Yeah.
And we get out of the van and they're screaming, who's your president? Who's your president?
He's looking, they're all president.
Yeah, so I just yelled out, Bush. We all started laughing, right? Because Bush was the president at the time. I said, Bush. And we all laughed. As a matter of fact, it was so bad with those guys in the bunkers. They stopping you coming out, going in, coming back out, going in. I went out one time, Staxx, just the one time. And man, the harassment was so unbelievable. I just stayed at the run site and partied and hung around, swam, and did my own thing there. You couldn't really go to town. You couldn't really do much. But, the one time I did get out and we went down to the ocean, we walked around there. And it's just weird, bro. You're walking down the beach and all these beautiful women are walking, these bottom bikinis, no tops, titties hanging out everywhere because it's topless,
Yeah.
And it was nothing to them because, man, I saw this broad with a beautiful rack on her and she's wiping the kid's face off and the kid's, mommy, and her cans are hanging out. I was like, wow, it's crazy.
Do they treat you different? Do people treat you different when you're wearing that patch?
Like, what do you mean? Just like average
anywhere,
people?
like like people? Do you feel like they look at you like different?
Yeah, they were scared. Like the Spaniard people, man, when like 400 or 500 of us show up, that scares people. They think we're gonna. And we took over this whole resort called the Excalibur, so it was pretty cool. It was like I can tell you exactly what it was like. They had the big Excalibur sword in the rock by the swimming pool part. And then when we went into the arena part, they had this big arena that we all sat in. We're all the way around it. And they go, this side's the blue side, that side's the red side. So the blue against the red. Then they would have knights come out in blue, in red. They'd sword fight, And we were cheering our guy, the blue guy or the red guy. And it was straight out of the movie. I know you've seen it. Straight out of the movie, The Cable Guy. That's what it was, bro. Swear to God. They come out jolting, hitting each other with the sticks. It was pretty cool. But there was a couple English brothers that were so drunk, they jumped over the railing and started chasing these guys with the swords, because their guy was losing. He was on the ground, and the guy was holding the sword up like, should I ram it? And he's waiting for everybody to give the thumbs up for him to, right? Well, the English guys jump over, they run out there, you ain't killing our guy. It was hilarious, bro. We're eating these big turkey legs, drinking beer and shit. It was, medieval times.
Yeah,
it was pretty fun, and I was honored because I was sitting there with Big Mike and another member that was like the top of my list. His name was Blondie, and he was like from Denmark. I think it was like Copenhagen or something, I believe. And he was like the Sonny Barger for Europe. This guy was tattooed from his fingers. When I say fingers, I mean like right up to the fingernails. Yeah. All the fingers, his whole fingers, everything. I mean, right up to the top of his neck. And I'll never forget it because I walked over and he's selling T-shirts and he's a buffed out dude, and he just did 16 years in the penitentiary. That's 2 life sentences. That's what they gave him. 2 life sentences, 8 years. That's all life sentences.
Out there, that's all it is. 8
Yeah,
years.
He shot 2 banditos in the back of the head. They executed them because they had a big war going on with those guys there. I don't know if they got it patched up or not. I don't pay attention to it anymore, but he's out now. He was out of prison. And I was dying to meet him. So I come walking up to him, and he turns around, and I guess the club he was in before he was a Hell's Angel, I don't know what the name of it was, but bro, from like the top right here, the neck, all the way to the bottom of his stomach, to both sides of it, all the way to his rib cage, was the biggest swastika I've ever seen. Probably the size of one on a flag. That's how big it was. And and he had all his tattoos all around it. So, but you could see it, and it was shaded.
Yeah.
I was thinking to myself, holy Christ, that was badass, because I had the big lightning bolts. You can see him. I don't know if you can see him or not. I had a big lightning bolt. See him?
Yeah, they're huge.
Yeah. So his swastika blew my lightning bolts away, bro. But I walked over and I hit it off with him, and he was like one of my mentor guys. Like when I go anytime to Europe, I always wanted to see Blondie because he was like the main guy. And I put a picture of him in my book too. He wouldn't talk to me because he's all club and he's strictly by the rules. And he's in Moscow now. He moved to Moscow, and he started a charter there.
So you can go anywhere in the world?
Yeah.
Basically?
Well, yeah, he's been in a club so long, and the clout and, the reputation he had. When they started in Moscow, he just went over there and started a charter, took the guys over there, and they started. But if it's a club like, I'm just saying, it could be like Johnny Booger and the Nose Pickers, you know what I mean? If those guys want to join the Hells Angels and they're in like in Chile or Venezuela or something, they have to travel to every country that the Hells Angels are in to show them, hey, they introduce themselves or they won't ever get voted in as a new country. So that's pretty hard. And with that being said, when I was in Vegas, remember when I moved to Vegas and I started the charter there, I was really good friends with these German brothers, right? They were from Germany, but they started a new charter in Luxembourg. Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah.
I never have, bro. So when I went down there, they took me there, and I says, "Where are we?" They said, "Oh, you're in the country now of Luxembourg." And,
I've never been there. I've never been to the
right, bro.
Europe.
So I've never even heard of it.
Yeah.
So I said, "This is a country?" And they said, "Yeah, this is the first country. It's a little tiny country, bro. It's like, it's like Rhode Island, It's about the size of that." And they said, "Yeah, this is the first country that Hitler took over." Well, yeah, you know what I mean? I could see him taking over that country. And then, he worked his way into Poland, Italy, and all around there. He was making his guys stomp through all these towns, but they were in Luxembourg, but they were more German. And they got Luxembourg going. Now they were like kind of moving back into Germany, but they were good friends of mine.
Yeah. And
they invited me one time to go with, you're going to die when you're to Albania, which is right next to Iraq. Okay. Yeah. So we fly in there, bro. And we stay at a 5-star hotel that was a total dump. Yeah, it says it's 5 stars. Me and another member were sitting like this in the hot room, what do you call it, sauna?
Yeah.
And man, we're sitting there, we pour some water on the rocks, the steam's coming up, and we're just sitting relaxing. All of a sudden, out of the ceiling, bro, the light falls, whoop, and it just stops in the middle of the room, hanging by the wires. The light's still on. The other guy goes, "Hey," and he reaches for it. I said, "Hey, don't touch that, man. You know, it's electricity. You don't know. You know what I mean?
You're all wet. You're sweating.
We're wet. Yeah. I said, don't touch that thing, man. Don't touch it. So I go out, there's a phone out there, and I call up to the front desk, and I said, hey, man, we're sitting here in a sauna, and the light just fell out. And he goes, we'll send a repair guy down right now. So we're sitting there. He walks in. He's got rubber gloves on, right? He grabs the light, wipes it all off, wipes it down and stuff, wipes the top off, shoves the light back up in there, and he takes some duct tape, and he duct tapes it, and he goes, there you go, and he walks out, and we look at each other. We start laughing. As soon as the moisture hit that duct tape, bloop, fell right out of the ceiling again. I said, man, let's get out of here before we get fucking electrocuted, you know? Yeah, and the other guy was almost as big as me, Staxx, almost as big as me. So we told him, hey, we want to use the hot tub. So they had to fill it up, and they filled it. I mean, right to the top. And it was a little tiny one, bro. It was only like a 3-man one. So me and this guy get in there.
It's like,
it was right, bro. It was a 2-man one. Whoosh, the water went over everywhere, bro. We flooded the place. It was funny.
Hilarious.
It was funny, but when you go up there, there are those beds. I don't know if you ever went to I don't know if I'm saying it right. That store that came from Sweden.
IKEA?
IKEA. Thank you.
Yes,
you. Yeah.
it's my mom's favorite store.
Well, did you ever look at the beds and stuff that they make in there? They're just the little skinny lats right under the beds.
Yeah.
Bro, you know, I get up in there. The first ones I ever hit was in Spain. I went in there, you know, and I put my shit down on the floor. Oh, I just want to lay on the bed. I lay down, crack, right to the floor I go. Right, the mattress, everything, right to the floor.
Yeah, but how big were you at your biggest around that time?
I was like 460, 6'8". Yeah.
That's big, man.
Right. And bro, I was doing a lot of steroids, man. I was benching a lot, you know, and I could deadlift 1,000 pounds, man. I was very, very strong, you know, but I was super heavy. But to get shit to fit me, you know, my chest was 62 inches and I couldn't get like suit coats. And it was hard for me to get like tuxedos and shit like that. Everything had to be custom made. So I broke the bed. But when I got on it, I only broke the corner of its axe, so it was kind of like kind of leaning like that.
Yeah.
So Big Mike had nowhere to stay, and I said, Mike, stay with us. Stay with us, man. You know, we already got the bungalow. There was another bed in another room. This other guy who was sleeping. And I said, I'll sleep on where the table is in the kitchen part. They had a bench, a hardwood bench there with a big cushion on it. And I said, I'll sleep on there because I know I wasn't crashing through that. And Mike's a big dude, right? Mike had to be, if I had to guess his weight, but he was big chested, arm. You know, he worked out. He's a big man. He was probably about, I'd say 250, 260 maybe. But solid, you know, solid muscle dude. And he went in there and he says, would you mind if I sleep on the bed then, PeeWee? I said, it's all yours, brother. He lay down on her. I hear crash. He goes right through it.
He broke it rest of the way.
Yeah, I said, you broke it the rest. So he just slept on the mattress on the floor. No, we just left it on the floor. And the bed broke when I went to Albania. I laid on the bed, went right through the floor. So, man, it's them little lats don't work for guys my size.
No.
But the hotel itself and the club that was there, I think they were called the Iron Wings. None of them had a Harley. Only one guy had a Harley. And they were poor. So with that being said, Staxx, you got to think, you know, let's be realistic here. That's the way I think, realistic. The guys from Germany just wanted to get us in another country. But I told him, I said, listen, man, it's cool what you're doing. You're trying to make the club grow and grow and grow. Like when I said Venezuela, Chile, we already have charters there.
Yeah.
The club does have charters there. So the Albania guys, they were very likable. They treated us great. And I thanked them for all that. But, you know, I think at the end they looked at me like, well, you know, kiss our ass, you piece of shit. Because when we sat down with him, I told him, man, you guys just ain't cut out to be us. And I think they took it the wrong way. They took it like, I was saying that they weren't tough enough or whatever what they thought. What it was, bro, they were broke. Staxx, they were broke as fuck. They're driving these old Kawasaki's, these Yamahas. Bro, they're barely running. One guy had a Harley bagger. One guy did. And I said, you guys got to switch over. You got to get Harleys. You can't ride these Jap bikes.
Yeah. They can't.
They're like, well, we can't afford it right now. Now, going back to what I just told you a while ago, Staxx, they got to go to every place in the world. You only got to send one guy. So Verna Charter, I say, hey, Staxx, you want to go? All right, so we're all putting money in, to fly you. Yeah. But still, they didn't have the money to do that.
Yeah.
And I knew it, bro. I knew it because I seen, like even we went to eat places, they didn't even have money to eat. So I told the German brothers, I said, come on, guys. These guys ain't us. They're never going to make it. They're not going to be able to afford to leave this country all the time. Plus, it was at that time when, everybody was still kind of like on a high alert over the, 9/11 thing,
Yeah.
And I said, man, it's just the geographic area it's in. And these guys just ain't us. They had a big party for us and shit. And I took another member with me, a 25-year member. His name is Freddie. He's out of the club now, too. And I was with Freddie, and we're sitting there, and he says, Farrakhan was his real name, but they called him, believe this, and it wasn't just like short for Farrakhan. They call him Ferry. I told him, oh, man, that would be a horrible name for you in America. Ferry?
Yeah, terrible.
Yeah, terrible. Ferry. Yeah. Even when he came to America, I take a place, I said, hey, this is my brother Ferry. Did he? What? Yeah, it was bad. But he was a great guy. And he was the one pushing this. So he says, PeeWee, you come up on the stage with me, huh? And you come up there, you talk to the crowd. I go, no, I don't want to do that, bro. I don't want to do it. He says, why not? I just didn't feel like it. I didn't want to do it. So I turned and I said, hey, Freddie, why don't you go do it? And I wasn't telling him because, you didn't have that kind of power as a president, even though I was his president of his charter. He was in my charter. He was my sergeant of arms. And I said to him, Freddie, why don't you go speak? Why don't you go talk for us? And he goes, here's where you see this is what I meant. This is what I meant when you read my book, bro. Something you get the resentment, the hating, the backstabbing, the jealousy. It came out right here, bro. If you asked me that and said that, what would you think if I said to you, no, Staxx, you go do it. You're Mr. You're Mr. Popularity. You're Mr. Everybody wants to shake your hand, take pictures. You're the guy. You go out there, you do it. That's what he said to me.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, and I looked at him, I said, you motherfucker, man. I said, so that's how you feel about me? And he goes, well, you're Mr. Popularity. Here's what it was, bro. I was 6'8", 450 pounds, all tatted up. That's what people see in a big giant Hell's Angel. I'm going to get a picture with this guy.
Hey, you're a personable guy, though. You're a likable guy. A lot of people are around you. You attract a lot of people.
Exactly. And Sonny said to me one time, I watch you, PeeWee. You always stop to shake people's hand. You always stop to take photos. You never talk shit to anybody. Well, unless they talk shit to me first. But he said, you always take the time. And he goes, most of the people fear us. But then on the other hand, the majority of them respect us and who we are. But he says, what's good about that is you got to keep that together. The fear and the respect is what we want. So he says, when I'm long gone and dead, he says, you're gonna be the guy, that it's going to be a big representation in this club. I said, I don't want that. I didn't want it. I want it. You know, Sonny had it, and that was good for Sonny. You know what I mean? Everywhere we went, people were following him, and we were doing our own thing. And why he said that was why he was signing books, and people would take pictures with him. I was standing there. It was in my shop. People first would go, "Can I get a picture with you, man?" I go, "Yeah." So most of them were taking a picture with me first, and then they go up, get a book signed by Sunday, and they leave. Some would get a picture with him, some wouldn't. And at the end of it, he says to me, "You son of a bitch, I think you had more pictures than I did." So, you know, when I told Freddie, go out there and do that, and he said that to me, that really pissed me off. So I turned to Ferry and I says, and he's out of the club now too, man. It's funny, all these names I tell you are all out.
Yeah.
So I said, I'll tell you what, Ferry, I'll go out there on the stage with you, but I'm not talking. But I'll support you. I'll go stand there with you. Now, bro, I'm a big man, like you said. So I was the only guy who could wear a big giant United States, you know, not USA. Everybody else was wearing. I wore the whole United States rocker. It started like right here.
Yeah.
Like right about chest level, and it went all the way around.
I've seen the picture, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
So I get up on the stage there, and I'm standing there, and Ferry goes, "We thank you all," you know, they're all screaming in the crowd. Yeah, they're all yelling out and shit. And we thank you guys for inviting us and, you know, and having a party. We thank everybody. Now, my brother from Las Vegas, Nevada, America wants to talk. And when he says that, you know, the crowd goes crazy. I just thought, God damn you, man. I just told you I didn't want to talk. So, bro, that wasn't even an embarrassing part. He hands me the mic. I go, "How we doing out there?" You know, I'm like the MC guy now, you know, bro. I just picked up. It's like you just said, you know, I'm easy to talk to.
Yeah.
"Hey, what's going on? You guys having a good time?" And they're like, "Hey!" And this is the funny part starts. I go, "Yeah, I just want to thank I forgot the name of the motorcycle club that invited us."
Oh God!
Swear to God, bro. I just went brain dead. I forgot their names. And they're all standing there looking at me. I said, "Yeah, man, we want to thank." And I was kind of looking around. I'm thinking, "Oh my God, what's their names?" You know, and I couldn't ask somebody. They would have heard me on the mic. One of the guys in the front that was wearing a patch turned around and walked like to the back to get some. I saw his back. I said, "The Iron Wings," you know. Everybody started clapping. I should have jumped down and shook that guy's hand and said, "Thank you for turning around."
No,
So
man.
when we got done, I put the mic down and I said, "Thank you, everybody." And they're all, so the guy's trying to do a burnout on that bagger and he keeps flying forward. So he's got like 5 guys standing in front of him, holding the front of the bike, which is very dangerous. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Bike gets weighed, somebody's going to get hurt. And I walk up to him and I says, "What do you want to do a burnout?" And he shakes his head, "Yeah, you know." I said, "Get off. I'll show you how to do a burnout, you know." So he gets off the bagger, man. And I get on that some bitch. I put in second gear and I let the clutch out. I'm holding the brake with my hand, right? The front brake. And that tire starts smoking. Boom, I shift her in the third. Bro, I slipped the whole place out. Everybody's, they're screaming and yelling. And I was doing it right there on dry pavement, you know. And all of a sudden you hear, the tire's clicking. I said, you're, bam! Yeah, the tire blows out. Yeah. Now, you know, bro, it probably took that guy months to pay for a new tire. You know, down there to get a motorcycle tire for a Harley.
Yeah.
So I felt bad. I mean, really, bro, I wasn't trying to do that. And when I blew the tire, I got off and I thought, oh, man, I should just give a guy $100 bill and say, "Hey, man, go get yourself a tire," you know. But when I got off, I thought, man, you know, if he's too stupid, he don't know how to do a burnout, you know, I'm not going to pay him for his tire and shit. And I just got out to him, "Sorry, man." I pat him on the back and you know, he was trying to think how to get the bike out of there, you know, because it's 800 pounds. So it was a full bagger. And
man.
I walked in the other room, and that's when I told Ferry and those guys, you guys, man, you got to stop it. These guys ain't us. So listen how weird this is, bro. We go to leave, and there's me, Freddie, Ferry, Ralph, another Freddie from Luxembourg, and then I think we had his name was Dennis. He was a young kid. That was it. 6 of us, 6 or 7 of us. There might have been one more guy. I can't think. But we go to the airport, and this is going to blow your mind, man. We go to the airport, we walk through it, and we got to walk through the metal detectors and all that shit, right? So we got our patches on, man. We walk right through the metal detectors. Nothing goes off. Even though I had gold pins and I had like 1% pin on me, it was all gold with diamonds in it.
Yeah.
It didn't go off or anything. So we get in the back room, man. We're sitting back there, Staxx, and there's like a bunch of Muslim guys there. You know, they all had the white hats on, the white outfits, going all the way down to the floor. And there's about 20 of them. And there were 7 of us, and we got in the back there. We're sitting like this on the bench, and all of a sudden Ralph goes, "What the hell?" He looks in his top pocket. Swear to God, bro. It was a buck knife. It was like probably about this big, closed, about that big opened.
Oh shit.
It was a big buck knife. Oh, bro, it was a big sticker. And it was stuck on a hook in its front pocket. We just went through security. So here's what I'm saying, bro. I'm thinking, if that got through, what else got through?
Yeah.
You know, and we're in this more or less terrorist country. We're just sitting there, and they all get down on the floor and they all start praying. And I was just sitting there, bro, and I take my phone out like this, and I take a picture of them. Dude jumps up, runs over. "You cannot take our picture. You capture our soul. I have to have your camera." That's why I'm not giving you my camera, because my camera's my phone. I ain't giving it to you. And he said, you must give it to me. I says, "Go fuck yourself. I ain't giving it to you. Beat it." And he turns around and he, blah, 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 whoop, they all jump up, right? With no hesitation, my guys jump up. I didn't have to turn around and go, "Hey, you got some shit going on here." They're already up, bro. Ready to go. I already knew one of my guys had a knife.
Yeah.
But hey, what did they have? Who knows, right?
Oh man.
So
they all open their jackets and full of bombs.
Exactly. And we're all just standing there staring at each other, and then all of a sudden you hear them call out on the tarmac the plane they were getting on. We were getting on a different plane. They call them out, and he looks at me. He just kind of nods his head like, "You son of a bitch." And they all start walking, and they walked outside, and I saw them walking across, and they went up the stairs. You know, there's no walkways. You got to go up a tarmac and walk up the stairs. It's old school there, man. And when he went to the door, just before he walked out, he did one of these to me, Staxx. He got to the door, he turns and he goes,
Wow.
"Hey, give me the old." And he did it with his mouth. He went, "And you shot me."
What did your boy do with the knife?
He didn't even pull it out yet. He was waiting.
No, did he take it with him on the plane, or did he ditch it?
No, he took it on the plane. Well, hey, we're already through security.
Yeah.
So
I mean, getting off, they really don't mess with you.
No,
Right?
We landed in Turkey. We have a charter in Turkey. They had 2 charters in Turkey, and we landed in Turkey. And then, you know, there was nothing. I mean, I had to sign like a visa thing, you know, because being in America. But the German guys, they go there all the time. So we went through, and then we went to the Turkey clubhouse, and we stayed there for about a week. And we partied with those guys. And the president, who was down in Turkey, he was a really cool dude. He was a heavy hitting dude. You know what I mean? He was like, had a lot of clout. Yeah. And he ran an Audi dealership. You know, he owned a bunch of Audi cars, had a whole dealership. And their clubhouse, man, bro, their clubhouse was so beautiful. White marble floors, white leather furniture inside. I mean, bro, living quarters outside for the maid and the gardener. He cut the grass, trimmed the hedges. I'd get up at 1 o'clock in the morning. I'd come down. If I turned the light on, bro, and I was looking around in the refrigerator for something to eat, she'd come in her bathrobe, the maid lady, and she couldn't speak English. But she goes, I tell you what you want. Like, all I had to tell her what I want. She would have made it for me. Yeah, if I turn the light on, I try not to turn the light on. I just open up the refrigerator door. And the food was so horrible anyway, bro. I just, pizza made with goat's milk, man. It just don't cut it for me, It's like watery shit. And but they had the maid, the servant, and the house was red, had the big white pillars like the White House in the front. Yeah. I think I put a picture of it in my my book. And it was one of those places, I swear to God, Staxx, I would have called up MTV and had them come there. I would open up the door and said, "Welcome to my crib." That's how bad it was,
Yeah, yeah.
Because of white marble floors. And then they had pictures of all the brothers on the walls. And they were full pictures, full, big, giant pictures of them. There was one brother there that had his teeth filed, and he had perfect fangs, and he's showing those fangs off. But they had a pretty cool charter, and it was, man, they had tennis courts, basketball courts in the back, a swimming pool with two big giant screens over it, right? Like TV screens, not TV screens. They were like motion picture screens. They were white, and they would project on them.
Oh, the projectors,
videos. Yeah, videos. And you'd be in the pool swimming, man, and music videos are playing. They had a DJ. Bro, you thought you were at a club, man. And all of a sudden on the bottom was Club 81, and everybody's just partying, having a great time.
That's wild.
Bro, it was. And
how long did that whole trip last?
I think we stayed in Albania about 4 days, and I stayed in Turkey about a week, and then like another 2 days in Germany when I got back, and then I flew out of Germany.
So you stayed in the Las Vegas charter for 10 years?
Yeah, 10 years.
And that
10 years
and that's the charter that you left, right?
Right. I quit. I just seen some punk that's in the club, and I call him a punk because the shit when they say shit like this, oh yeah, we threw that man out of the club. That dude was a guy that was in prison for selling drugs in the clubhouse, and they lost the clubhouse, and they were going to throw him out of the club when he got out of prison. I don't know why they didn't throw him out. Now he's in another charter. I seen on a post where he said, "We threw that man out of the club." They didn't throw me out of the club. They should have threw him out of the club, but they didn't throw me out of the club. I quit, and then like 3-4 months later, they put me out in bad.
Do you want to explain what happened for them to even transpire? Like, so you end up you end up going to prison, right?
Yeah. When I went to prison, I was already out.
Do you want to explain what that was all about? What you went to prison for?
Yeah, I went to prison for a fight at a wedding chapel. My son was getting married. He was a prospect at the time, and the ceremony just ended. Ready to walk out the door. Some of the guys are already out. They were wearing patches. They were wearing Hell's Angel patches. Some of the guys were. Some were wearing dress shirts. Me, I was dressed up. It was my kid's wedding. So we were wearing real fancy dress-up clothes, and we just got done taking like family photos in there. And the guy says, "Okay, you guys, you can exit out this door here." Prospect comes in. He says, "Hey, we got some bad news." I said, "What's up?" He said, "The Mongols are outside." And I just stood there for a minute, Staxx, and I was thinking, well, I said, "What do you mean they're outside?" He goes, "They're outside, and they're in the chapel in the hallway." See, we're in a little room.
They're already off their bikes in the place.
They didn't even come. Yeah, most of them weren't even on bikes. They all came in cars, and they kept saying how they were outnumbered by us because there's like 11 of us or 12 of us. They were saying that the 12 of us beat the poor 2 guys up. What really happened, Staxx, is when they showed up, they had like 12 guys. 5 of them took off running through the parking lot as soon as they saw the guys outside. And some chick yells out, "Go get the guns!" So like a joke in my book, I says, when she yelled, "Get the guns," who knew that those guns were in another state? Those guys were never coming back because they never came back. So they were only outnumbered because their guys ran. If they would have stayed, it would have been like even Steven.
No, what was the reason they were there? Do you know the reason
they were getting married? They were getting married.
Oh, so it was a coincidence that they crossed paths with you.
Yeah, but it was weird because the guy had cameras installed there a week before the wedding. That's a little weird. And I'm going to tell you another weird thing that you can take it any way you want, but when the cameras are involved and they show up, our wedding was at 12 o'clock. Theirs was at 1 o'clock. It was already like 20 after. The ceremony was done. We were leaving. They got there 45 minutes early. And in the preliminary hearing, they asked Zilla, the guy who was their president at the time, which, like Mooch said, they threw him out of the club because he snitched. Right in the paperwork, he went, "PeeWee beat me up." So he told on me. There was like 3 of them in the hallway, and I don't know how many. There was like 2, maybe 2 outside, something like that. So yeah, they were outnumbered by the 11, 12 of us that was there. But when I stood there in that room, bro, I thought of any day in my life, why this day, right? Yeah. But I knew as a Hell's Angel what I had to do, and I had to take care of this. So I just put my sunglasses down, and I said, guy goes, "What are we going to do, PeeWee?" I said, "There's only one thing we can do." And that's all I said, Staxx. There's only one thing we can do. And do you know that judge charged me with coercion? He told me, and that honestly, bro, that carried 60 to 120 months. And he said that was basically me ordering them to fight.
Well, they already knew what they were supposed to do. Like everyone knows what was going on at the time, right?
Right.
Didn't Laughlin already happen, right?
Right. And we beat that thing, so they weren't going to let my case go. They wanted me bad. So that's all I said, bro. Word for word on my skin, I said, there's only one thing we can do. So I turned around and went right out into the lobby, and they ran behind me, and they followed me. I walked out in the lobby. He turned his head to the side a little bit. I saw him look at me out the corner of his eye. Dude, man, he went right into his pocket right away. So boop, 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 I start lighting him up. And
so you had a gun on you before you went?
No. I had nothing on me. I started punching him. Boom, boom, boom.
You started punching him.
I started punching him in the face. And a big buck knife falls on the floor. And he's reaching for it, and I grab him in a headlock, and I said, "You want that knife? You want it? Grab it." But in the meantime, I'm giving these haymakers from left field, man. Bam,
yeah, bam. You're huge at the time, right?
You're his teeth the teeth are flying out like chitlets,
Is there fighting going on all around? Like everyone's fighting?
It was chaos. It was chaos. I didn't pay attention to what anybody was doing. I just focused on myself, I took him to the floor, and that's when I told him, I said, "No, you're going to get a beating, man." I gave him a good one. Because when I stood up, as my daughter said in one interview, she said, "Man, my dad got up, his face was covered in blood." It wasn't my blood, bro. It was his. My face was totally covered because somebody said, "Bro, you're bleeding bad." And then I took a towel, and I went like this, and I wiped my face off. There was nothing on it. I mean, it was clean. They're like, "You ain't got no cuts." I was like, "It was his." When I was hit, every time I hit, it was splatter,
Wow.
But it got bad when one of the guys stuck him in the back after I knocked him out. He's laying on the ground. Why stab him?
And that was the time when the guy ran over and stabbed him when he was already down.
And then he stabbed another guy, and the fight went from a gross misdemeanor battery to attempted murder, like that. You know what I mean? So you pull the trigger, you can't take back that shell. You pull a knife out, stab, you can't take it back.
No.
And I didn't see it. I'm being honest with you. I didn't see it until I saw the films. And he was clear as day. He showed him pulling out of his pocket, opening it up, and I was like, just shaking my head, like,
Yeah,
man.
when you're watching that video, your heart probably dropped, right?
And yeah, and Staxx, he was the only one. He was one of the few wearing a full Hell's Angel patch, so he stuck out more than anybody else. Everybody else was dressed up, you know.
No one had guns on him at the time. No one.
No.
I'm surprised the opposition didn't come with guns on them.
Remember, they ran to get him.
Yeah, they ran to get him in the other state.
But you know, here's the weird thing. Here's the weird thing that I want you to think about. When I come walking out of the chapel, I came with some family members, right? So they all got in cars and they already left. And I walked out, so I really didn't have a ride. And I walked out of the chapel, and these two guys pull up, two guys that were at the wedding, in a Corvette, bro. And they pulled up and they said, "PeeWee, get in." You couldn't have got me in that car with a shoehorn, bro.
Yeah, yeah.
So I looked at him and I just kind of looked at him like, what the hell are you talking about? I walked away. I walked to the street, which was a one-way going back this way. And JD, who's dead now, he come flying up, going the wrong way on the one-way. He pulled up right where I was walking down the street, and he stops. He said, "Get in the car." I grabbed the door handle. I opened the door, and a Metro cop come pulling up. It was a woman. She come pulling up right in front of his car. So I didn't even get in the car, Staxx. I just stood there with the door open because I figured we're busted. We're busted. There she is.
Yeah.
She looked at us. I looked at her. She backed up, took off.
What?
I don't know. You figured out, you tell me, bro. So I was just kind of like, wow, that's the weirdest shit I ever seen. And we were going the wrong way on the one way.
So you get in the car, right? You get in?
I got in the car. We did a U-turn and we took off. We all went to the clubhouse and we kept thinking they're coming any minute. The raid and everything. Nothing, bro. It's all over the news. We had a little party, for the wedding thing afterwards. Even though, party. It was a good time.
Yeah.
So that was 2008. Them cops hit our house and raided us and came and arrested all of us in 2010, 2 years later. It took them 2 years to get all their T's crossed and their I's dotted, to have a case against us and witnesses and all kinds of bullshit. And
do you cop a plea or do you go to trial?
Well, I want to go to trial because, you know what I mean? Hey, I walked up, the guy pulled a knife out, I was defending myself. So when they asked me what anybody else did, I said, I don't know what anybody else did. I wasn't looking. I don't know where anybody was. I don't know what they were doing. I was looking out for me because I was fighting for my life. So I was figuring, how could I be the bad guy? You know what I mean? But I was the bad guy because we left. They were still there in the chapel. So when they got there, they were laying there beat up. So they were stabbed too, and I didn't know that. But
did the guy end up dying?
No, nobody died.
He lived.
But they were the victims. We were the bad guys. So when we got arrested, we're all sitting in the room, and it was weird. They took us down this hallway, and they put us back in this cell, like in an old part of the jail. There was nobody back there, just us. And we were in this room way in the back, all of us in the same room. Oh, you can imagine they're probably listening, everything, So I'm just sitting there like this, and I'm kind of watching people, all these people that got arrested. And I'm watching them, and I see JD, the guy I told you is dead. Now, he always claimed that, he's been in prison twice, but it was pretty embarrassing, when some old black guy comes down the hall, mopping the floor, and JD's beating on the glass. Hey, man, nobody knows we're back here. They know we're back there, bro. Hey,
Yeah.
get somebody. And to me, it was embarrassing. It really was, bro. It was embarrassing for me, being the president, him doing that.
Yeah.
So I said, JD, shut the fuck up. Get back over here and sit down, man. Well, hey, I don't think they know. I said, they know we're back here, dude. So he sits down. I watch this other guy pacing like up and down, up and down. I said, hey, John, you're wearing a goddamn hole in the floor. Why don't you sit down? He said, I can't be locked up, man. I'm bipolar, you know. I can't be locked up. I can't be. He was like freaking out. And, you know, I just kind of like, in my head, I'm thinking, wow, what? You really get to know people, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you get to know people and what's going through their head. So I'm thinking, holy shit, this guy's going to roll. You know what I mean? This guy ain't going to make it. Because, I mean, come on, we're just in a county lockup. And he's like, I can't be locked up. I'm thinking to myself, holy shit, this is scary, man. So as soon as we bailed out, we had a $100,000 bond. We bailed out. Them dickheads up in Reno, the Reno nomads, they told John that I snitched on them. Because the cops asked me, do you know a guy named John Merchant? Of course I know him. I'm in the club with him, right? So it's not like I'm snitching. We're all in jail. And I said, of course I know John. He's one of my members, you know, not of my charter. He was from Reno, I think, at the time, he's from Reno, I think. And I said, yeah, I know him. And they said, did you see John? I put my hand up. I said, listen, I didn't see John do anything. You just asked me if I know John. I know John. End of story. I don't know what he did, where he was. And they went, oh, okay. So because that was said on a tape that they got from an attorney, they turn around and tell John, hey, your buddy PeeWee, he snitched on you. I didn't have to snitch on him, Staxx. It was right there, clear as day.
And what was his response? Was he saying, like, I got orders from PeeWee?
No. And as a matter of fact, he was almost like crying on the phone when he called me. He goes, did you rat on me, man? Like that. And I said, John, why would I rat on you? I don't rat on anybody. But he was just, you could tell he had no education. I think he told me he went to third grade and that was it. He got $800 a month for being bipolar and being cuckoo. Never worked. I never seen him with a job, bro. $800 a month's all he got. His wife was out driving truck on the road, and he had like 2 kids, 3 with her, 3 kids with another one, 2 kids with another one. Wow. Yeah, I don't know how he was paying support. I know he wasn't paying no support. That's why he never had a passport. Most of those guys, you know, they can't get a passport. They can't even get out of the United States. And I did a ton of traveling, ton of it. Belgium, Switzerland, Italy, Portugal, Spain, London, Germany 3 times, Holland 6 times, Luxembourg.
That's
Belgium,
cool to be able to have the
Belgium,
privilege to go
Austria,
and have the connections with different people, right?
And the brothers were so, you know what I mean? The brothers, that's why I said in my book, it seemed like there's more brotherhood there because they were more like, but now, you know, I talk to brothers from London that are out of the club. They call and talk to me. They'll message me on Facebook. And they said, oh, I read your book, you know, and hey, it's the same way here. You know, like meaning there's no brotherhood. And it kind of broke my spirits a little bit because I thought for sure that they carried more of a brotherhood than we did here, you know. Yeah. These guys were so quick to like if you won Lotto, he'll try to expect you to throw him something. You know, why? You want it. Hey, man, congratulations, Billy. Glad you won. You know, happy for you, bro.
Yeah, they're like, no, we want a cut. We need 50% or something.
Right. Honest to God, they would expect it. They weren't happy. I mean, nobody was like, oh, you got a nice bike, man. That's nice, you know, and so much jealousy. And if they could get over that, man, believe me, I love being a Hell's Angel, man. You know, it was probably one of the greatest things in my life. And I don't hate the club, man. I feel ashamed for what they became, you know.
You just wanted brotherhood and to be accepted.
Well, that
by all
and
these people, and
they don't stick by any of the old rules that we went by. I could see all these old rules that were embedded in my head when I came around. They break every one of them. So, you know, like throwing a guy out in prison, you have a chance to come and defend yourself in that room and speak for yourself. So if somebody said, hey, hey, let's say you're even in a county lockup, somebody says, hey, man, fuck Bill Staxx, we're throwing him out, you know? You ain't throwing him out. He's got to be in the room. So you're in the room, and that person who thinks you should be thrown out, he's going to tell you why. If you don't like it, you can get it on with him, bro. But at least you have a say. You can say, listen, that ain't the way that went down. And you get to say your piece.
You get to defend it. Yeah.
Right. Now they do it, bro. I know one guy out on email, another guy through the glass. Hey, we voted you out, you know, and hang up the glass and walk away. Well,
so your son joined the club too, right?
Right. And I didn't want him to, bro. I turned him down like twice. I didn't want him to because he was the only son I had, you know, and I didn't want to see him killed or, man, a lot of motorcycle accidents, a lot of people, you know, breaking their necks, getting killed, getting hit by trucks, run over by trucks. In all the years, man, I've seen a lot of it, bro. So I didn't want him, you know, I didn't want him coming around, and he kept on me and on me. Finally, so I passed him off. Like that one punk ass cop. Oh yeah, his kid got in there, but he got in, you know, easy because of me. I gave him to somebody else, the sponsor. I never would even step up. He never ever whined and cried to me like, hey, they're making me do this. He just did it. Yeah. And he was a good prospect, and he was a better member. And when he was a member, he'd ride right up front with me, and we went everywhere together. And actually, him and I had a better relationship as a father and son. And when he got 15 months, that's what he got. 15 months. I got 2 to 5. I did
for the fight. 29. So you all end up getting time, everyone?
No, 4 of us out of 11. The other guys, bro, took a sweetheart deal with the DA on felony battery with substantial bodily harm and the coercion charge. They took that plea, and then they got 2 years probation on the street, and they had to pay $13,000, which, I mean, they were all paying into it, but they were on the street working.
Yeah.
So come on, bro. You got, what is it? 7 guys, 7 guys all out there working, and they had to pay this $13,000 restitution off for Zilla, the guy I beat up, because he had a couple of teeth, I guess, jarred loose.
Medical bills and things.
Medical bills, yeah. So they had to pay it. So they were crying about that. I was like, keep me on the street. I had a good job.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have paid the restitution. I didn't give a shit.
But there was no way they were keeping you on the street, right?
I lost everything, Staxx. You know, I went, man, I had people stealing my toolboxes. You know, I had it at the shop. It disappeared. You lose everything, man. You go to prison, nobody gives a shit.
At this point, you own the clubhouse, don't you?
Yeah, I own the clubhouse.
When you go to prison.
Let me see. No, when I quit in 2010. And when I quit, I told them they could keep the clubhouse as long as they pay the bills to it.
Is that before or after you go to prison?
I went to prison in 2014. So I was there 2014, 15, and 16. And they didn't, 3 months later, they didn't pay the bills. And then, like some ghetto trailer trash, I went down to the clubhouse, you know, to tell them, hey, man, why aren't you paying the bills? and it was empty. And they stole all the appliances were gone, all that shit. And I thought, you got to be kidding me, man. This is some trailer trash bullshit.
Yeah, but so is your son in that charter that did that?
No, he quit the same night I did because he said, I'm not going to be in here while you talk shit about my dad, which they would have, because they already are.
He walked away too.
Yeah, he walked away too. Don't get me wrong. There's still Hell's Angels in there that, I don't talk to them. They don't talk to me. Some reach out to me in like different ways and send me messages, but there's still a lot of good, really good ones out there, that are good brothers and they got good hearts. And, they still, they still know who I am and they still believe in me and shit. And they say it's a dirty shame that I'm not there. And they wish I was back there, and I don't wish I was back. I told Sonny, he called me up and he goes, why did you quit? And I said, hey, they didn't believe in me. If you don't believe in me, bro, why are you talking to me? If you don't believe in me, don't talk to me. So I stood up and I said, you know what? I quit. And that's why I quit. Because
you're in the middle of a meeting when you say
six
this.
guys raise their hands and say, we feel like you said too much to the cops. And I said, let the lawyers fight it out. Self-defense, go fuck yourself. I said, yeah, okay. Every time we had an incident with the cops, PeeWee, man, cops are here, man. Can you deal with this? That's what they would ask me. I'd always deal with it. So all of a sudden now I'm a stupid ass. I don't know how to talk to them. See, it doesn't make sense. It's just an excuse.
Yeah.
And then Sonny calls me up. Why didn't you talk to me before you quit? I was thinking, what for? What's the point? And he goes, give me 6 months. I'll have you back. You ain't got a prospect. I'm going to get you back in the club. And I said, man, I didn't say anything right at first, and I said, yeah, okay, boss. Or chief, I call him chief. And I said, okay, chief. But then after time went, I started thinking about it, and then I started hearing the rumors. PeeWee's a rat. And they started telling everybody I ratted on him and shit. And then they said, we're putting them out in bad. Because that's what they wanted to do, to screw me out of my shop in Sturgis, which they did. And Sonny calls up and says, don't worry about that. I'll have all that. And I said, listen, they're already running their mouths. They're already talking shit. I don't want to come back. And he goes, for sure, you're done? I said, yeah, I'm done. I'm done. I don't want to come back. And I said, shit, I'll be fighting every time I go to a party. I'll be knocking fuckers out left and right, man, for running their mouths.
Yeah.
And he says to me, well, if you don't want to come back, then there's no reason you and me ever have to talk again. That's just what he said to me. And I said, well, if that's the way you want it, take care. He said, bye. That was it. I never talked to him again. Yeah.
And that day you so they raised their hand and they said that, and what, you just took the patch off and laid it
right on the table, and I walked out, bro, and it broke my heart to walk out of there, but I had to, because I don't feel like, like you said, like, being in the street gang, you know what I'm talking about. You walking out there, man, if your heart was in it so much, and you know what I mean, and you believed in it as much as I did, it was breaking my heart to walk out of that room and leave. Because even myself, I was saying, man, did I just do the right thing by quitting? Did I? Yeah, I know I did. Because now I see them the way they are. Man, there's no way I'd be in that club. No way. All the shit that they're doing and the crazy shit they're doing to themselves, they're like killing their selves within the club. And it's ugly, bro. It's an ugly situation.
So when did you decide to write your book?
I started writing my book when I was a member, brother. I started writing my book. That's why I changed it 8 times, because me saying stuff like, well, me and the brothers, we went here when I was president, and why I told these guys do that. I had to change that all. I had to go back and change the whole book, to where now I'm out.
To a past tense, right?
To a past tense, yeah.
Yeah.
So I had to change it, and it was funny because I was at a drag strip, and an old Minnesota member, he came up to me and he said, hey, PeeWee, you still writing your book? And I said, yeah. And he goes, what are you going to call it? And I said, I don't know. I don't have a name for it yet. And now when I was in the club, I was going to call it Strength and Honor. when I was in the club. But
Yeah.
you know, I wasn't going to name it that because now I know the real truth, the way they are. As fast as they turned on me and shit on me, they were never brothers. They were associates. You know what I mean? Like high school shitheads or something, you know? So I said, why? What name you got, bro? And he says, Brotherhood. Greatest lie ever told. I looked at him, I said, wow, that's an awesome name. I'm going to name it that. You don't mind? And he goes, no, I used it. You know what I mean? I just don't mention his name, but I said, yeah, you know, an old member told me, name it that. And I said, that's a perfect name for it because that's exactly what it was. Because as soon as you leave, and it doesn't matter, Staxx, if you leave good or bad. If you leave good, nobody's going to call you up and go, hey, Billy, why don't you come down and have a beer with us? What are you doing? Nothing. Come on down, bro. Hang out with us. You're never going to get that call. Never. So if you're waiting for it, your hair's going to turn gray before you ever hear one. So all the years I was in there, I've never seen anybody left good ever come back around or even anything.
Yeah.
So
once
what
you're
is
out, you're out.
Yeah,
Doesn't
so
matter.
good or bad, does it really matter? I mean, really, does it? No, it don't. You get treated the same way.
Do you have any regrets with where your life's been and things you've done?
I would say like the only regrets I had is, you know, like I said, leaving my first wife, you know, in Minnesota like that, the way I did, you know, I really did it. I did her dirt pretty bad like that. Fucked up her head, and that was just selfish of me. Just think of myself, you know, I'm going to go do this if you like it or not, you know. So
Yeah.
that's one regret I have, you know. And then I regret letting my son in the club too. Because, you know, we went to prison in 2014, the same day we both were in front of that judge, the same day. And when he told me, sir, I'm sentencing you to 2 to 5 years out in the state penitentiary, high desert state prison in Nevada, for deliberately sucker punching that man in the face. That's how he said it to me, word for word. I put my hand up. I said, hold on, Your Honor. When I walked up to him and he reached in his pocket, I didn't think he was giving me the keys to his car. And he goes, well, you should have waited till he brandished the weapon and try to use it on you before you acted. I was thinking, fuck you. Tell that to your cops, man. They shoot people like that.
Yeah. You
Right?
go reach in your pocket, they're going to blast you.
Right. You know it and I know it.
100%.
And everybody says, why didn't you say that? And you know what I told him, Billy? You don't think of everything when you're standing there, you know.
Oh, you think of it later. You think of it later.
And you know what was cool about it? When they put the cuffs on me, they put shackles on me, on my hands. And they walked me in the back room, and the bailiff was an old black guy, and his name was, I remember seeing his name tag. It said Cliff. And he was a pretty cool old cop. I'm sure he's retired by now because he looked like he was in his late 50s, early 60s then. That was many years ago. So I went in there and I sat down. He says, I got to go get you some scrubs, you know, like the blue prison clothes, you know, you got to wear. And I said, okay. And he looks at me and he shook his head and he says, boy, kid. But it was good for me. I got to see the world, you know what I mean? And I got to meet some great people. And I still, to this day, you know, probably got, I'm not kidding you, probably, I'd say 150, maybe 175 ex-Hells Angels out of the club that all call me from all over the world, Austria, everything, and talk to me. And that makes me feel good in my heart that I made an impact in their life. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I just wasn't one of those guys that just floated along and you never seen us do anything or me do anything. I did shit, man. I was a shaker and a mover. So yeah, everybody knew my name. Everybody knew who I was. And now you got all these new kids coming in, you know, and sure they're talking their shit, you know. I still can rock them, sock them pretty good for 67 years old. I was always like in the cars, you know what I mean? I got a 31 Chevy Coupe and I got a 56 Chevy, you know, Bel Air and stuff like that. And I just, I just sold a 39 Chevy I had. So I'm big into the car thing. And actually, I do believe this, Staxx. I believe that me staying busy with the cars keeps me alive and keeps me going. It gives me a purpose. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't even own a motorcycle anymore. I sold it.
I know
So
they are dangerous. They are dangerous, man. Especially now.
I mean, they got me on all these blood thinners, bro. The doctor said if you crashed, you'd bleed out before the ambulance got there.
Yeah, you don't.
So I just, I sold the bike for 10 grand. I bought a lawnmower for 12 grand. Big old Dakota. I got 5 acres. I got 5 acres here. I got to cut.
So you've been in how many bike accidents have you been in?
3, I think. 3.
That
One I crashed when I was in the Sinners in Milwaukee. I hit a lady pulling out of a bar. I hit the side of her door. I flew over the car, broke my kneecap, and the bike was totaled on that. And then another one is when I told you I got in an accident in Minnesota when I crashed that bike. That was in 94. And then I also crashed in 94 on the Golden Gate Bridge. Yeah, my cases were leaking oil, and it pissed it all over my rear rotor, which I didn't know, right? Because I'm riding the bike. Yeah. And all of a sudden, there's 120 of us going across the Golden Gate Bridge. 120. That's a big pack. And I'm in the back because I'm a prospect. And all of a sudden, I see all the smoke coming off people's tires. They're all locking them up. So I go push the brake. No brake. I go right up the middle, because I couldn't stop. So I put my feet down doing the old Fred Flintstone trying to stop myself,
You're like,
so I'm trying to downshift it, and the RPMs were up. I was only doing about 35, 40, but still, it was too much to lay the bike down. And man, all of a sudden I hit a guy's foot peg. His arms fly up. He goes down. He's just a little tiny guy too, man. I fell right on top of him. My foot went in the spokes of the wheel. And my foot came around where it stopped it up against the swing arm.
Yeah.
I dragged the bike on top. He was on my foot, and I was on top of the guy. And we slid for 17 feet on the guardrail, looking down at the water.
Wow.
When we got up, he had a big chunk of meat missing out of his face right here. And on his elbow, right here on his elbow, he had a big gash in his elbow. Me, I had a broken ankle because my foot went in the spokes. So I was being my stupid ass self, you know what I mean? I didn't even know the guy. He was another prospect from Purdue. And I looked at him, he looked at me, and I went, whew. And man, all of a sudden I hit a guy's foot peg. His arms fly up. He goes down. He's just a little tiny guy too, man. I fell right on top of him. My foot went in the spokes of the wheel. And my foot came around where it stopped it up against the swing arm.
Yeah.
I dragged the bike on top. He was on my foot, and I was on top of the guy. And we slid for 17 feet on the guardrail, looking down at the water.
Wow.
When we got up, he had a big chunk of meat missing out of his face right here. And on his elbow, right here on his elbow, he had a big gash in his elbow. Me, I had a broken ankle because my foot went in the spokes. So I was being my stupid ass self, you know what I mean? I didn't even know the guy. He was another prospect from Purdue. And I looked at him, he looked at me, and I went, whew. Thank God we were wearing helmets.
Oh,
I was being a smart ass, bro, because I didn't know what to say to the guy because I just crushed him for like 17 feet.
Yeah.
I tried to grab the railing, but the momentum ripped my hand right off the railing. So I stayed on top of this poor guy for the whole time. So we could hear sirens coming, cops. And he looks at me and he goes, I got to go. I don't have a driver's license. I said, okay. So I got my foot out of the spokes. I'm standing up now, trying to straighten out my handlebars. My pipe, side of my gas tank smashed in. I had to readjust my throttle cables because when I went down, they crimped. It was like, full bore. So I had to unscrew them, loosen them down, so I got the throttle working. And I sat on the bike, and my ankle's killing me, bro. It was like this big around,
Throbbing. Poof.
Oh,
right?
man. Yeah, I didn't want to untie my shoe. I had these high up, like work boots on. Yeah. And I was like, man, I'm not taking my foot out of that shoe. And then I was sitting on the bike, and this guy who's he's a member now, Big Jerry, he was a good friend of mine. And he pulls up next to me. He goes, "You okay, Wee?" I go, "Oh, my ankle's fucked, man." And he goes, "The cops are coming." They pull right up, and they said, "Hey, is there an accident here?" And we said, "Yeah, somebody over there," because all the people, were watching. They're all standing there. So the cop goes over to see what's going on, and we turn around and we take off. And then we get back to the hotel, and that's when I was in San Francisco for that world run I told you about where I got yelled at.
Yeah.
Oh, I got yelled at again, bro.
Because of the accident, right?
Yeah, he says to me, "What the fuck?" Well, you know what? I was going to put your bike in the back of the truck because they had a truck following us. He goes, "But you can ride that son of a bitch." My ankle was fucked, bro. He goes, "You can ride that son of a bitch all the way back to Minnesota." And I had to. Yeah.
Wow. On a broken ankle?
Yeah. Dude, when I put my foot on the brake, I was grinding my teeth like, because, I had to push the brake. And I had to carry a can of gum out, carburetor spray. Kept spraying it on my fucking rotor to keep the oil off of it.
Oh my God.
And my coil wire came off when we were going through the salt flats. And you know how hot it is there, right? We're going through the salt flats. Pack just keeps going. I pull off the side of the road. Nobody stops with me. Thank God I figured it out. I seen the wire off the top of the coil. I had a Leatherman on. I pulled it out with the little pliers. I unscrewed it. I put it back on there. And I jumped on the bike. I poured some oil into it. I had to carry oil in my saddlebags because you know how much I was going through. I take off. I'm doing like 120 trying to catch these guys. I catch up to them, man. My light comes on my dash saying oil, 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 I was thinking in my head, fuck it, I hope it blows up. You know what I mean? Because then I can't ride it. Yeah. So that son of a bitch wouldn't blow up, bro. It wouldn't blow up. So I pull in the gas station, and they only take like 3.5 quarts of oil, and that's what it took, 3 quarts of oil. So
it was empty. It was empty.
It was empty, bro. And it was kind of funny because Jimmy was another prospect he was with, and him and Pat clashed all the time. And before we left, Pat says, check the straps, Jimmy. Check the straps on the trailer, make sure the straps are tight. And he goes, "Yeah, I did." He goes, I just told you to check them again. Check the straps. I checked them. They're good. He goes, "Check the fucking straps." So Jimmy goes over and checks them. So it's kind of funny, bro, because we would like play these stupid little games, right? So we go into the men's room at a gas station, and we're standing at the urinal. It's me, Jimmy's over here, and Pat walks in, and he goes over here on this side. So there's all three of us at the urinal, right, taking a leak.
Yeah.
And Jimmy nudges me with his elbow. He nudges me. I look over at him, and he goes, like, "Just watch this." And he's laughing. "Hey, Pat." Pat looks at him and goes, "What?" And he goes, "I just want to say I'm sorry that I was wrong and you were right about the straps." And he goes, "Hey, you know what? Go fuck yourself, Jimmy." Yeah, it was good, bro. It was good. And then Pat walked out of there, and me and Jimmy just like slapped each other. Right when I left, I said, "Man, you know how to piss him off." And then Jimmy was driving the truck, the bastard. You know what I mean? Because his bike blew up. So all of a sudden, when we walked outside, Pat turns to me and he says, "You know what, PeeWee? You'll be lucky if you make it in this club. He says, you're about as bad as that other dumb son of a bitch in there." And I was thinking, what? So, I mean, it just, bro, it was like from one extreme to the next. Every day was like, oh, what's going on today? And he tells us, you guys, when you work together as a team of prospects, then we know, Billy, that your team belongs with our team, and then we're one team.
Yeah.
So when we see you guys working together as a team, that's when we're going to make you members. Okay. I go to breakfast with Pat. I'm sitting there eating breakfast with him, and he says to me, "Hey, stay away from Jimmy." And I go, "Why?" He goes, "He's bad news. Stay away from him. You get yourself in a lot of shit." So see, I mean, it was like they all contradicted him all the time, bro.
Yeah.
So I'm prospecting with you, but I can't talk to you or hang around with you because you're bad. I don't know what bad you were, but you were bad. And Jimmy was just funny, man. And one time we're sitting there, and I told him, I said, "Hey, Pat told me to stay away from you." And he goes, "Don't you get it? Are you stupid or something?" I said, "But what?" He goes, "Pat's a genius." I said, "How do you figure, Jimmy?" He goes, "He knows how to work people. Like he'll go over and tell Billy, 'Hey, PeeWee said this,' and you're like, 'Well, that son of a bitch.' And he tells me something about you, and I'm like, 'That son of a bitch.' And then, me and you are about to ready to fight. And then he says, 'Hold on a minute here. Now, let me talk to you guys.' And this is how Jimmy ran it down to me.
He's the guy.
The mediator. He's the mediator.
Yeah. Wow.
And he's the good guy. He's the guy to go to, man. Pat will clear this up. And I looked at Jimmy. I said, "He does do that." And Jimmy goes, "Yeah, you haven't figured it out, man." Jimmy was pretty funny. Jimmy was a no-care son of a bitch, bro. He always had that big mouthful of chew.
Yeah.
His lip always stuck out like, he had a saucer in there or something, a plate. And we went to court, and I was sitting with him, and I never even knew he had this. And we were sitting there, and a bailiff walks over and says, "Did you hear the judge?" He said, "No hats, caps, or any chewing tobacco or cigarette. Spit that out of your mouth right now." Jimmy didn't have anything in his mouth. It's just his lip always looked like that, like that stuck out lip.
Yeah.
Because I guess the chew, I don't know if you heard that, the chew's got like a fiberglass or something, and then it gets it cuts your mouth inside, and the nicotine gets in there. The fiberglass cuts your little slits in your gum line. That's why you always get cancer of the gums.
Cancer, yeah.
Yeah. So we're sitting there. He says, "I don't have anything in my mouth." Cop says, "Open your lip." Jimmy goes, "You flick his lip?" Going like that. And on his lip tattooed, it says, "Fuck you."
My buddy had that too. My buddy.
Did he?
Yeah.
I looked over it. I didn't even know it, bro. All the years I known him, I looked over it. I didn't even know he had that. Cop goes, "Yeah, that's cute. That's cute." So one time I said to Jimmy, "Hey, you better stop dating that broad. That broad gave 3 guys in this charter herpes. They call her Scary Sherry at the time, whatever the fuck it was." And I says, 3 guys, herpes, can't get rid of it. And you're dating her, Jimmy. Hope the hell you're wearing some protection or something." He goes, "Who cares? It's just herpes." And I says, "Just herpes?" And he goes, "It's like luggage, man. You just don't get rid of it." That was his logic, bro. That was his logic.
Yo, man.
And I still talk to him every once in a while, but he doesn't really talk to me much. He works on, believe this, he works on a friend of mine's sister owns a crematorium where they cremate people, right?
Yeah.
And Jimmy works on furnaces. And he comes all the way from Illinois to Minnesota, and he fixes the furnaces when they're not working right. So my buddy Paul goes, "Hey, aren't you a friend of PeeWee's?" And he goes, "Yeah, me and PeeWee are old friends." So I got Jimmy's number, and I called him up. We talked, and he says, "I don't ride. I don't do it." He doesn't do anything. He's married. He's got some kids.
How'd he get out of the club?
They threw him out. The same day they threw me out.
Same day?
Same day. He said, "Where are you going? Wait for me." Well, when I was walking out the door, I didn't have a rocker on, so he knew they threw me out already. And then they said, "Jimmy, get in here." He was next. So as I was coming out, he was coming in. And he looked down, he saw I didn't have the rocker. He goes, wait for me." because he bought his bike from the club and he was like 4 payments behind. You know, they were going to keep the bike, right? They did keep the bike, but he wasn't paying for it. It serves him right, you know, but he wanted me to give him a ride home on my bike. Bro, I got on my bike and I rode away, man. Like I told you, like I just took a shit. I was like, whoo, I beat that bullet, you know? And then he calls me up, hey, I wanted to ride. I had to walk. I said, what did they tell you? They said, they told me, oh, we're keeping your bike and you're out. Get out. They threw him out. He was just a guy that didn't give a fuck anymore, you know? After a while, you just don't, you care or you don't care, you know? But I cared all the way right up to the end. I cared. I cared every minute. You know what I mean? I tried. We can end it with stuff like this, Staxx. I tried my best to make it the best club that I could be in because I knew I wasn't the best club. I just want to make it better and run smoothly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was more like a babysitting job, you know? But,
like egos get in the way and things like that. A lot of different things.
The jealousy and the bullshit, man. But do I regret it? No, I don't regret it. I love being Hell's Angel, and I just hate seeing what they're become, what's become of them. You know what I mean? They can do better. They just gotta pull their shit together and pull their heads out of their ass and do their thing.
I'm sure they will one day, right? What would you say to someone who is thinking about joining a club, maybe not that club, but a club? What would be your advice for someone who's thinking about being a prospect or joining?
I've had people ask me that, hey man, I'm thinking about joining this club, and they'll tell me, and I'll say, listen, if you think you can do that, and that's in your heart, and that's what you want to do, go ahead and do it. But let me explain something. You may end up losing your family over it. You may go to prison. You may get killed. Or I says you may just end up losing so many jobs and you lose everything you got and you're at the bottom and you have no other choice but to quit or get thrown out. And that's the bottom dollar, man. I said, it's real facts, man. And so I said, I seen it. So just take that all in consideration if you didn't think. And he goes, I never thought about none of that. And I said, well, you better think about it, you know?
Yeah.
Because it's reality, you know? So I said, I'm just telling you this because of the time I put in there and the 10 years in the Sinners I was in there. I says, you know, I've been in 2 motorcycle clubs, you know, over 30 years of my life. So I said, you've got to put in what you want to get out of it. That's basically what it is, you know.
Thank you, man.
You're welcome, bro.
I appreciate you. We'll do this again another time, and I'll have a bunch more questions for you. I still got more questions for you. And if you like this show, hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you can get my videos every time they drop. And if you don't like this show, too fucking bad, start your own podcast. Peace. Thanks, man.
Later, bro.